We're rolling.
Welcome to episode 68 of the Jiu Jitsu Dummies Podcast, everybody. Hey, what's up, man? We're sponsored by Fight Back CBD. Get 20% off your CBD order at fightbackcbd.com with code JJD. We're also sponsored by Black Belt Digital Marketing. Anything you need to build your business, website design, Google Ads, graphic design, literally anything that you need, they can help. Check them out at bbdigitalmarketing.com. John Carlos, I've been mentioning the GoFundMe at the beginning of every episode.
Yeah.
You know, he got cancer. He's on his fifth. I think he's on his fifth chemo.
Yeah, the cycle
chemo
of treatment.
Yeah, he's on going every day. So he's on 5. I don't know how many he has to do in that first run. But I told did you see the last episode? The beginning of the last episode?
Yeah.
I told everybody if you go to his GoFundMe, donate 100 or more, I'll send you a free podcast mug. Just send me a snapshot of your receipt at Jiu-Jitsu Dummies on Instagram, and I'll just we'll double check and we'll send it out.
That coffee will taste better.
Yeah. Awesome dude. He trained with us for a really long time, and then he went to American Top Team in Coconut Creek, right around the corner from us.
Yep.
And kept in touch, probably like most people these days, online. It was very sad to hear that he had this issue. I actually saw it and I was like, hey, it's like, because I saw the GoFundMe and it was in Spanish, and I was like, is this a scam? Like, right away I'm thinking it's a scam, and I'm like, really? Like, I would have maybe heard something. And I reached out to him, and right away he was like, yeah, man. And I said, look, do me a favor for our listeners, translate it into English, because everything was in Spanish, even like the story. I said, translate it into English so I could share it, because a lot of our listeners aren't going to know what the heck is going on. So,
and Google Translate does an okay job. They mess up. As a fluent bilingual person, I know not to trust Google Translate to a certain extent.
So everybody look,
Google frustrate. Yeah.
The link for the GoFundMe is in the bio. I've been posting it on our Facebook. You can find it. It's if you go to our Instagram, click on the Linktree link at the top. It's the very first thing at the top. I put it right at the top. So help if you can. If you can't donate, that's fine. Please share it. Put it on your business page.
Spread the word.
Repost it on Facebook. Let's help them out. Last but not least, shout out to Hernandez Claims. George Hernandez is a public adjuster who can help settle your commercial or residential insurance claim on your behalf. Call George Hernandez today and let professionals help you get the most compensation possible from your insurance company. Check them out at hernandezclaims.com. Like we talked about it last time, vandalism, leaky roof,
damage.
Again, business, commercial, residential, he can help. So,
somebody on your team to help you out.
Hey, I'm Milton Campus. I'm a brown belt training out of South Florida. Welcome back, everybody. You can check me out on Instagram at Uncle Milty BJJ, and I also handle the at Jiu-Jitsu Dummies IG.
Sure do. Hey,
Miguel,
guys.
welcome back.
Thank you. I'm back.
What's up, brother?
I got sick.
How you feeling?
I feel way better.
Yeah.
I almost got that six-pack that I talked about.
Yeah.
I lost like 11 pounds
COVID
in 4
six-pack?
days. Yeah, I got real thin.
So who got your wife?
My wife and
you?
myself, yeah.
How about the kids?
Nope, good.
Everybody's good?
Yeah, and they were very self-sufficient.
Yeah.
They helped out. Yeah, it ended up being an okay experience. My work was very understanding.
How bad did you get?
Dude, it wasn't
flu?
no respiratory stuff, dude. Just straight up, like I felt like all like cognitive things were like really wrong. Like I had really bad brain fog and then a serious back pain. Like, dude, my bones hurt. And my wife made me walk like a half mile like every day, and then I was on that JRE cocktail as much as I could get. I was on that.
How about her?
Everything. I was taking my dog's heartworm medication because it's got ivermectin in it.
Both face like what?
Now the cows are going to be walking around big fat bellies full of worms. Because you used all their.
Now, are you guys vaxxed or you were not vaxxed?
Nah, man, we're riding it out. Yeah. Unvaxxed sperm is the new Bitcoin, baby.
You know what they call us now?
It's my fallback plan.
You know what they're calling us? You know what they're calling us?
What
they're
are they
calling us pure bloods.
Pure bloods.
Okay.
Who gives a crap? Anyways.
Go behind the camera, everybody.
Hey, behind the camera.
Let's do a shout out. We haven't shouted out Britt in a long time. She was a podcast patron. She was a supporter of the show. Britt Tavar is now our booking manager and our sponsorship coordinator.
Yep.
So she's going to be handling the giveaways going forward. So all those giveaways that you see, I'm usually handling them. I'm going to pass that along to her as well.
Britt. Yeah.
You got the raise. Which one are you going to have today?
I'm having the one that looks like Britt's profile picture on IG. Tell me it doesn't from far away.
What's that?
Doesn't that look like Britt's profile picture on IG?
Oh, it's like yellow.
This is Galaxy Burst.
I'm going to do a strawberry colada.
All right. Don't drink all of it.
Hey, Rays, this is it. This is the last freebie.
Bye.
We're gonna. Hopefully they'll want to work with us and do some more stuff. But
I'm not gonna lie. I'm probably still gonna buy these with my own money because they are pretty damn good.
Fucking delicious. Very cool. Very cool.
Last but not least.
And we have a guest today.
Right? I know. Thank you so much.
Thank you for being patient. Joining us today, we have a Tom DeBlass Black Belt and owner of Epic Roll BJJ, Matt Wahlstrom. How you doing, Matt?
Hey. I'm so good, gentlemen. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being patient and listening to our craziness.
A little rant.
Stupidity. Did you hear the, what was it? The sperm?
Oh, the Bitcoin.
Oh yeah. Unvaxxed sperm is the new Bitcoin. You haven't heard that?
That's right.
It's actually.
I've not heard that.
Yeah, like
I think it's sadly true.
It is. Yeah, it's gone up 35%. Like,
sperm or Bitcoin?
No, the sperm. Yeah.
You're crazy, man.
Especially if you're college stats. Yeah, man. Yeah. The internet's amazing.
Welcome, Matt, man. Pleasure to finally meet you. We talked a little bit, but definitely, we've all probably followed you online for quite some time.
Definitely.
So which
I appreciate greatly. Thank you so much.
Hey man, you're putting it out there. It attracts.
I'm trying.
It attracts people. I think if you're on a jiu-jitsu journey of any kind at any place, it's a very small community. So like a lot of roads lead your way, and you have
absolutely.
You have cool products. You're a fun follow. You know.
Thank you.
Yeah, man.
So let's talk a little. Let's talk a little bit about the brand first. How did you get started with Epic Roll?
So it was kind of an accident. A few years ago, I think it was around 2017, 18, I found out about drop shipping. Are you guys familiar?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So
I use I use one of the same drop shippers for the podcast website.
It's a great option, especially when you're starting a brand, right? Because a lot of the problem is that you don't want to invest a ton of money in buying inventory if you don't know that there's actually a market for it. So when I found out about drop shipping, I just at that kind of time, I felt like jiu-jitsu apparel wasn't maxed out. It was kind of, and there seemed to be some extremes. It was, you had some like Choke Republic things that were more of a lifestyle brand, but then you had like a lot of corny shit and a lot of things that were just, like the Starbucks or Coca-Cola logos. And it just seemed like there wasn't really a huge amount of lifestyle brand clothing out there in that space. So with drop shipping, I kind of thought, hey, maybe I can try to create some of these shirts, and having a background in design and art, that was kind of, easy for me in terms of putting together some concepts and sort of, initial designs. And so when I created the logo, it really just started initially as being kind of geared towards ranked gear, so that you had, each one of those belts that you're at, you can be there for a very long time. I was a brown belt for 6 years. Oof. And so, to create some type of lifestyle gear that kind of allowed you to rep that belt and that time when you're going through that, I thought would be kind of a cool niche, like within the space. So that spawned to a few other designs. And as I kind of got feedback from people, that it seemed to be kind of well received. So at that point, people were asking me, are you making rash guards? Are you making shorts? Are you making gis? And I was like, well, I guess I should now. So, so I was able to kind of sit from that point and just let it organically evolve. This was never intended to be a money thing. This was kind of a passion project on the side that went from that to turning into a second full-time, business, which is amazing. And I'm super grateful for. But it just hit, it kind of really slowly, actually not really slowly, I would say over the last, 3 years or so, the growth has been amazing. So it's kind of, that's really motivated me to keep going and keep, growing the brand and expanding and working with different people and to kind of where we are now.
Now, you originally, I think I heard you talk about this, you originally, when you started Epic Roll, you weren't going to be a brand or an apparel company. You were going to put out videos. Right.
Yeah, exactly. With one of my good buddies, Philip, who's a black belt with us, we were just going to make jiu-jitsu videos, like beginner, intermediate, advanced. And this was, I think, at least to my knowledge, prior to when there was a ton of content out there, not that it was that long ago, but like Atos and all these things that exist, that have their online platforms. Like in retrospect, I was like, what was I thinking? Like to try to, compete with these guys. I think it was more just going to be a little fun thing that I could do and put out there and just make content through. So, but that quickly sort of shifted to this brand when I found out about drop shipping. I was like, well, this is kind of cool. Even if I'm just wearing my own shirts, like that was cool. And it wasn't a huge investment financially. It was more investment of my time, right? Just learning, because I didn't know anything about starting a clothing company. I didn't know anything about this whole process. So I really had to like teach myself and learn and watch thousands of YouTube videos to get to a point where I kind of understood it.
Yeah. I have a question for you, since it feels like you got like a pulse on the market, right? Do you think there's room for a serious jiu-jitsu comedy figure other than Renato? Because everybody I've seen, even very serious guys, like guys, like Tom DeBlass and dudes that are like savages like Tex Johnson and stuff like that, they always dabble into the comedy aspect of jiu-jitsu, and it almost feels like a heist, but it also feels like they just legitimately think that shit is funny, and it happens all the time.
Before you answer that, Matt, I actually was listening to you speak, and between what he just asked and what you said, the best businesses, the most fun, the things that actually wind up giving you some money back, the most successful, are the ones that completely happen organically. Like you were going to do these videos and then it turned into something else. I call that letting the business steer. It's just like I was going to go this way, and then all of a sudden the business said, well, you should probably go this way. So like a lot of those guys, they do it, but they don't have like necessarily a business sense to do it.
It's always in blips. And then I sometimes I'm craving more, but I just feel like the only guy who's seriously being funny consistently is Renato. Like that dude does not. I mean, he was an actor. He's an actor. Oh, I know that.
And then then
I studied, sir. I know what's going on here.
Yeah,
that's what I meant by serious. Yeah. He's seriously.
Yeah, I don't know. What do you think about that?
That's what I'm asking.
I mean, he was saying, do you think there's room for another like comedy figure like that?
I mean, if you just look at the internet and just look at the pages that people have on Instagram and the people that post stuff on TikTok, like there's a market for anything, and it's certainly not saturated. I think in our space, I think it just depends on what you plan on doing and how consistent you can be and how you put videos and content together that makes it inherently interesting. Like you can take something seemingly very boring like cooking an egg, but if somebody knows how to shoot it right and cut it right and put the right music to it, thousands of people are going to watch it.
I'm going to take it to the food channel.
So wait, perfect example. We had Kent Peters on.
Right.
Kent Peters. Do you know who Kent Peters is from Supernatural? So Supernatural Survivor. Give him a proper shout out. So he opens. I don't know. Are you on TikTok at all, Matt? Do you?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. So if you've seen his page, he has his. I guess his wife raises horses, right? I don't know.
They're equestrians.
He has horses, and he gets these big bales of hay, these round, and it looks like a giant marshmallow. And he goes around and he opens it and he puts it on. It's his most watched. They are his most watched videos on TikTok. We're not saying just like a couple of thousand. Millions, 7.3 million, like ridiculous. He's like, all he's doing in some cases is just walking around,
just running a knife past plastic.
It's that satisfaction. I think those are like kind of satisfaction videos.
Oh yeah.
Like the other day I poured milk into a coffee and my daughter goes, "Oh, you should have recorded that." She's like, that was so satisfying because they brought me a clear mug at a restaurant. And when I poured it in, it was like Cheesecake Factory. And it just did that thing so nicely. And the way I poured it, she's like, oh, you should have.
Slow-mo, bro.
And I'm like, why? She's like, satisfaction. You know how satisfying that was to just watch that? So his most watched videos are that. It's like, what do you do? Do I get a bale of hay just to become popular now and like, open it up?
Those are expensive.
It just fucking it happened. I think again, it just happens organically when you don't know. When you're looking for it, when you're like really looking for it and pressing it and pushing it hard. So those are the times that the things don't happen or they don't work out.
Except for
I think at the core of it, like being passionate about whatever you're doing and not, the money thing is tricky because some people do, they're in financial positions where they have to take jobs and do things to make money. But in my opinion, that if you are pursuing something out of passion and it's something that you actually want to do, and you take that approach, like you're much more likely to be successful and consistent in going through it, right? Like if you're forced to do something that you don't like, you can fail at things that you don't like doing as well. So, you know, when you're able to find something you do like, and if it's, you know, something you can be consistent with, then great. The hard part is that we're like in a society of instant gratification. Everything is like right here and right now. And what people forget is that, especially with social media, like nobody cares for a long time. You have to post and you have to be consistent, and you have to, you know, and now with even just the technology of video and audio, how, you know, how good it is. You can't have shitty audio and video and inconsistent content and ever think that anybody's going to pay attention. So it really is a thing you have to put a lot of effort into doing. But if you do, you could do that with almost anything, which is a beautiful thing. It's a very opportunistic point in the world right now.
You know what's real funny? One of the only negative comments we've ever gotten about the show, besides maybe somebody like trying to lay into a guest.
I feel like I know where you're going into this.
I don't think you do, because you weren't around in the beginning. I don't think you know this.
Was it you trying to be like Joe Rogan?
No, yeah, well, that one rolled off my. You wound up answering that. He's like, yeah, why wouldn't I want to be like Joe Rogan?
That's a compliment.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's like, thank you.
You mean the guy who's got the #1 podcast?
The
sorry for trying to be the best.
The one probably most negative comment directed at the podcast was, in the beginning, we did this in my wife's office in a conference room at my wife's office when we were just playing around with it, and we had like a backdrop with the logo on it, but like Bo literally sat on this conference table with like this camera and would go back and forth instead of the shots that we have now, and all the wires are on this like kind of like a off-white, like light beige table, so all the black wires were like taped down and everything.
Office furniture.
Yeah, it was just, you know, I don't even think we considered that yet. It was just like, hey, we're testing this, playing with it, see what's gonna happen. And a guy was just like, hey man, podcast was decent, but you know, if I had to give you one critique, I mean, all those wires are really distracting. And I was just, and I smiled and said, wow, he liked the podcast.
Yeah.
He liked the podcast. The one thing that he could, like, if there's one thing I could tell you that's bad, is like, I have to pick out that fact that there were wires to your mics and shit. And then we knew, like, okay, look, we have something. And then we kind of grew and we moved, you know, from there to my house. And, you know, it wound up taking off.
This thing's morphed. I got asked the other day at the gym when I first went back like 2-3 days ago or whatever. They're like, hey man, how long you been doing that podcast? And I go, well, I kind of got picked up like mid stride, but it's still been like 2 some years.
It's
like that I've been for
3
you.
for us,
Yeah. Oh yeah, for you. Okay.
For me, it's like 2. I think 2.5 maybe. I don't even really know the timeline.
I think in the beginning you came on once in a while, right?
It was just every once in a while.
I remember it was right after the Jits Kings event where we won like all the. We did a raffle at a Jits Kings event in South Florida,
Dummies.
and we won all. They gave away 5 gis, and we won all of them.
Look, let me just give you some background.
It was like they kept on calling our same name.
I'll give you some background, okay? Like, I'm avid poker player. I love anything that's a grind. I'm always, not that I'm skeevy, but like if I see something that's advantageous, I'm like, I'm not gonna not take advantage of this, right? So, and if it's got to align with my morals. I'm not a very immoral person either. But anyways, I walk in, they have this clear Pyrex, right, with just like, I mean, just like 3 or 4 raffle tickets in it. So I just walk up to the table and I go, "What's up with this raffle?" And they're like, "Oh, it's $5 a ticket."
They would do, what were they, like flow kimonos?
Yeah, flow kimonos. It's like $5 a ticket for a chance to win gis. And I was like, how many gis? And they're like, oh, we're giving out like 8 or something like that.
It was 5. It was 5.
It was 5, whatever. And I go, here's $30.
It was like a dollar. It was like a dollar raffle, or like
no, it was $5, which is just enough to make people not want to do something.
Yeah.
You know, especially in Miami. Especially at a jiu-jitsu event. Jiu-jitsu people are super frugal.
And then my ass comes over. I'm like, hey, Miguel, what are you doing? He's like, I'm going to do this raffle. He's like, there's not that many entries. And I'm like, oh, let me jump in too.
Yeah.
And then
I told him about it. If I didn't tell him, I almost regret telling him because I would have taken everything. And I just kind of thought about this. There's nothing tighter than it's secondary, right? It's like it's a black belt's choke and then his budget. Because getting money out of jiu-jitsu people is don't even try.
Difficult.
Don't even try.
Yeah.
You guys game the system.
And we wound up. They were calling us on stage. I don't know. It was like at
it
the
was
end of the
numbers.
event.
Yeah, it was the numbers.
They called him up. Then they called me up. Then I think they called you up again.
Yeah.
And then they called like another. I got another number. And I'm like, I don't want to go. So I started giving them to the people that we were with. So I took one, and then two other people, and then one of the people that Janet, who was on the show, she gave it back to me. I wound up giving them away on the show because they weren't my size. Anyway.
I donated one too.
And yeah, I think we wound up I think it was like 5 total. We won all of them. We won all of the gis.
I still have it.
Yeah,
I got complimented when I rolled. I went back to the gym that you rolled, my old gym, right, to Felipe's. And I got complimented by Adolfo's sister. She was like, "Your gi stinks." And I go, well, how should I clean it? That's what I said. I said, how should I clean it? Because I think I'm doing a pretty good job at cleaning it. And she's like, do this. And I did that. And then I came back and I rolled with her again. And she said, much better.
What was the magic prescription?
Light a big
soak it,
fire.
OxyClean?
Soak it in OxyClean in a hot like bathtub for like 4 hours and then wash it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a new one. I have OxyClean. My wife puts OxyClean.
But you got to
on
soak
everything.
it.
Soak it.
Yeah.
Right.
And then wash it.
Well, let's get back to our guest. We're going to. Hey, Matt, are you still with us?
Hey, bud.
So tell us.
Hey, how's that raised, by the way? How's that Galaxy Blast?
This is pretty good, man. I've had this is my third one. I've only drank the ones that we got, and I had them actually on the show. They're all good. They gave us a big ass bag of like pre-workouts and basically like powders for the drinks. Mm-hmm. So I've been putting them in. I can't put a whole. I put a whole one in. I'll bounce off the fucking walls. I put like just like maybe a quarter to a half in one of my water bottles. Like that's a little bit bigger than that. Yeah, and they're great. I love the flavors.
The flavors good.
Unlike any other drinks that I've really ever had, because it's always been Monsters and
Red Bull
and Red Bulls.
Yeah. So
I never really kind of ventured out from just like
I've never had a Bang, so I don't really know.
Me neither.
Have you guys tried Killcliff?
Yeah. Dude.
Oh, hey.
Sorry, that was my throat. I don't know what. I don't know what that was.
No, I haven't.
Killcliff is really good, actually. I bid on the. I'm an avid JRE listener, so sometimes I fall for what. Yeah, those are great. I had the orange one.
What did you say? Bid on? What were you going to say? Bid on something?
Yeah, like I bid on the marketing. Like, I mean, he's like, oh, these things are great with the THC and I'm not THC, the
CBD.
CBD. Sorry, yeah. And so they sell one with a CBD. And I already take CBD from Fight Back. And
hey, look at us dropping sponsor names.
Just dropping names.
Shit. Sponsorship packages are going up. They're going up next week. Bo, get on the sponsorship kit.
Brought to you by Brondo. It's what plants crave. And it was good. I bought it on Amazon and it was good.
What do you think? I think I actually saw I saw you did a raise thing. Like I know that they're like trying to get ambassadors and different things, and they were looking for some. I specifically got involved when they were looking for they're looking to build their social media, their TikTok social media specifically. So I said I'll give it a shot, but I felt like we have something different to come to the table with. So we've been having them on, doing a couple videos, and I'm putting together an email to say, hey, look, this is what I envision us doing. I can't just give a coupon code out and then see what we get back, because it's sold in other places. For me, that's not going to work. Hope they don't see that.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I want to come at this a little different way. It's a little bit more branding. It's us. We really do like them. We're not bullshitting. We wouldn't have even put them on the table if they were crap.
No, yeah.
And
the flavors are very interesting.
Well, the Killcliffs. What are you doing? Well, I'm sorry. I saw you with a picture on your social media with the raise. And now you got Killcliff over there. What are your thoughts on either or both?
Raze and I are divorced now. Okay, we've separated. No, it's not. Well, the thing is that when I start working with Killcliff and now starting to do some apparel projects with them, they got all my support and love. They're jiu-jitsu guys. They're awesome guys. They
very cool.
But I think working with them, I'm full-fledged support of their stuff and their good products.
Actually, nothing wrong with that at all.
It's yummy.
No, and I was a big Monster Energy, Bang Energy. I mean, there's so many. Like I'm a energy drink connoisseur for sure. But one of the things people really like about these is that it's a little bit less caffeine than some of the other ones. Like for me, I can drink these things like, you know what I mean? But for some people, like 300 milligrams of caffeine in a Bang will make you fucking crazy.
Well,
so
it's why I said when I put the packets in the water, I only put a little bit because I have a heart condition. and I know that I can feel even. I don't even take a full cup of coffee or I do instant coffee all day at the house. So I put like a half or a quarter teaspoon of the caffeinated and then a decaf because I can literally feel my heart beating out of my chest like I never had before. Before I had the heart, I never had that issue, but now I can feel it. And maybe it's just that I'm more conscious of it. So I've just cut it down. And doctors, you can have caffeine, but don't go crazy. So that's why I cut it down a little bit. And even these, I mean, I'm drinking these over 3 hours while we're here. I'm sipping that. I'm not down in that. And they're like, let's go roll. my heart will explode. I'll be,
That's kind of the cool thing is they've got the Ignite series. It's the one with the caffeine for 150 milligrams, but they have their CBD drink that only has 25 milligrams of caffeine.
Right.
And then it has the CBD. So it's more like hydration and recovery.
Okay. And
I had a buddy of mine that was down recently that was visiting, and he was like, yeah, I can't do energy drinks. So I gave him that. And he was like, wow, this is amazing. Like this is, it's light. It's not even as much as a cup of coffee. So
it's yummy.
It's good to have those alternatives. I lose perspective and forget how much of a tolerance I have. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I'm a degenerate,
two of
bro.
these. Yeah, exactly.
The same.
Just a horrible person when it comes to energy drinks.
You're allowed to like them, man. Don't give it a bad.
I love them.
Yeah,
you know what I used to do?
It's not for everybody. It
was my life goal to get sponsored by an energy drink company.
Same.
You know what I mean? That was like literally all I wanted. I was like, thank you, Jesus.
I don't meet too many people like this. So like Monster, right? What color can are you?
Well, I mean, the last couple flavors that were my favorite was the purple, which was like some kind of pixie dust.
I don't know the names. I just know the colors.
It was the purple can. They had the what was it? Pipeline Punch, that pink. I mean, like almost every Monster flavor.
A lot of P's. The Pipeline Punch.
Yeah, alliteration.
Yeah, there's I mean, there were so many of them. Like their marketing is fucking genius, dude.
Yeah.
They every time, like I'd walk into 7-Eleven, I'd see like a new can. I was like, fuck,
they got you.
Like they did it again. They got.
But if you had to pick one can to drink.
I can't even imagine how much money I have spent in my adult life on energy drinks. Like literally a small fortune, probably.
I know.
So this was why I concluded that I needed to get sponsored, because this was gonna eat into my retirement if I didn't have a strategy. You know what I mean? I was gonna spend too much money on energy drinks.
I used to go to the dollar store and buy. I don't even remember the brand. It's been so long. The dollar store had like the.
Is it Rip
It? 5-hour energy?
No,
thing?
like not it. Like a step below 5-hour energy. I forgot the name of them, but they have these little
3.5 hour energy.
Yeah, like
2.5
20-minute energy. I used to take those and pour them in my water and then go to the gym. I used to just take one, pour it in the water, but I did that every day before jiu-jitsu.
Like the red
I did
lines?
that every day before I went. Like
was it
every
red
single day. No, hot. What was it? Hot something.
I don't know.
I can't remember.
It's
been 5 years since I had to stop after the heart attack.
So over the course of 3 deployments and 8 years in the military, I've probably spent like 100 Americans' lifetimes taxes on the amount of energy drinks that I drank. Because we were sponsored by Rip It. I think we would just get them by like the Connex.
Didn't they really had a deal to like?
It was definitely a government contract for Rip It.
Stacker 2.
Stacker
2 little red bottles. Dollar store had them right at the checkout.
Yeah,
and I used to grab them.
Dude,
that was just like the worst chemicals, probably.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We don't want to talk about that kind of stuff. We want to.
No, I know.
Let's talk about what we enjoy.
Yeah.
We're enabling right now, man.
The company,
we are.
The company that I used to work for, it was smart, and at the same time, it was just like, wow, these kids don't even know what's being done to them.
Yeah.
We had free monsters. They just bit by cases, free monsters. Amazon would deliver them, and each department would come and grab the ones that they liked, and everybody would kind of hide them and put them in their little fridges under their desks and shit like that. It was so smart. Coffee was free, monsters were free, and then if you had something that like, hey, there was a bunch of people that wanted something, they would order it if it was like caffeine related,
right?
Because it would just fucking keep you're bouncing off the walls all day. But the young, again, was in my 40s. These kids are like downing these like water, like it's their water bottle.
Yeah.
Just like I would drink water, they're just drinking it, especially like the programmers and stuff.
I've been there.
And I was like, it was so smart, but so fucking unhealthy. I mean, it's okay, you can have an energy drink, but it was all they drank from morning to night till they left. They're leaving with a can, like an opened can that they're going to drink on the way home. It was just crazy.
Nice.
That shit would keep me up at night if I was drinking them.
Oh, for sure.
That,
yeah.
Do you guys remember, like, I graduated in 1998, but I remember, like, the first type of energy drink that, like, I remember being on the market was this thing called Surge.
Surge,
Do you remember
yeah.
Surge energy drink?
Yellow number 6, bro. Yeah, I know what's
yeah,
up.
man.
That
was like the first
it was balls.
thing. It was
Surge and balls. You remember balls in the blue bottle that was, like, bumpy?
Was it balls? Like
yeah.
BALLS?
BALLZ, I believe.
Ooh.
Yeah, and it was like a blue glass bottle that looked like a Zima bottle, and it was like bumpy. I remember
there was no balls sold near me, apparently.
Yeah.
What was
the Surge?
I mean, you remember
I remember Surge for sure.
Jolt.
Oh yeah,
Jolt was the very first energy
soda.
Anything. It was a soda, but what was it like? That was the caffeine was spiked. That was
a cola. Yeah,
that's the first thing that I can remember. I don't think I ever had one.
Dude, this podcast is the history of energy drinks.
Yeah, right.
Buckle up, people.
How did you start working with Killcliff? I know you got a really good relationship with McDojo Light. I know he's sponsored by Killcliff. I don't know if you kind of came together. Is that how it all how it happened?
Yeah, Rob reached out like a year and a half or so ago about doing apparel with him, because he really wanted to take the McDojo Life brand and create apparel that eventually he can get out into a retail setting. He's obviously like has a really cool, niche and corner on the market with what he does. So it kind of made sense. So we started working together, and I did the designs for, the apparel, which we sell on the website. And through that, Killcliff saw the McDojo Life gi that we did. And so then they said, hey, tell Matt if he wants to maybe design some gis, some different products, shoot it our way and we'll see what's up. If we like it, maybe we can put it out. And so I did, and they loved it. And so now we are working together and doing their apparel. It was kind of interesting because they have apparel, they have T-shirts and things like that, but as jiu-jitsu guys in this company, running this company, they didn't make any jiu-jitsu gear. So because I have this sort of machine already in place, it was really just about taking some of the designs and then bringing them to life, and then going through using my resources to bring them together and present them. And so it's a super cool opportunity. I honestly think like some of these projects and some of the people I'm working with now is so fun. It just adds a whole nother level of excitement to the business, and just the monotony of like the normal stuff.
I would have never known. This is the first time, and I don't watch Rogan as much as I used to, but I've heard of Killcliff and I've seen him on McDojo. I just didn't know that they had anything to do with jiu-jitsu. I haven't heard anyone mention that before you mentioned it here today.
Yeah, CEO.
I guess I never heard it either. Yeah, you're right. I guess I just assumed.
No, I didn't even. I just thought it was
just like it's
cool
just
energy drink.
Yeah, the On It gym is just littered with Killcliff cans.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they sponsor a lot of cool people. I mean, they're really great guys, and I think that was one of the reasons that I really went full force with trying to support them. And just because, number one, as a small business, them giving me the opportunity to work with them, like they're a big company, they could probably get a lot of different people to come on board. So the opportunity that I got to work with them was amazing. And then they're jiu-jitsu guys, and they're just actually like cool guys. Like you could sit and just have a conversation with them. And so when you get that and you recognize how cool they are and what they're doing, and then all of the the charity work and everything that they do, they're just a great company. Like you feel good about supporting them, and they've been really awesome supporting me. So it's a pretty symbiotic relationship.
What do they do charity wise? If
well, they have their Navy SEAL Foundation,
the Killcliff episode. But
because they have the Navy SEAL Foundation, so they do a lot of stuff with military, with work with PTSD, and so they're just it's a good company and a cool product. And I feel like because they are a big company, they're also not so corporate that we couldn't make something work. You know what I mean? It wasn't like a lot of red tape. It was like a bunch of guys got on the phone and shot the shit. We're like, this is awesome. Let's do it.
Very Black Rifle-esque.
I have a bone to pick with the BJJ box.
Yes.
Loved it. I had it. I was a member.
Stickers.
I had it. Yep. And what I used to actually do was I did a couple of unboxing videos in the beginning for like on the podcast, on our YouTube. And I loved it because I would take out the things that I liked and then I would give it to the guys on the podcast. And we used to be like, kind of usually anywhere from 3 to 5 people on the podcast. It was like more of a round table back in the day before COVID fucked everything up. And I would get the box and I would either do an unboxing video, unbox it on the show, and or, again, hand it out to stuff, keep what I wanted and give it out. But every time they freaking sent me the box, it didn't come in a box. It came in a freaking bag. And like, they always put like stickers and other things in it. And they always came messed up. And I was just like, fuck. And I canceled it. And I loved it. I had no bones to pick about the stuff that was in it. But every time they would send like sheets of stickers and different things. And I'd be like, everything was just like smashed into this bag. And I'm like, but it's the BJJ box. Why am I not getting a box? Are you saying
that the BJJ box was in a BJJ bag?
That was in a freaking bag. But I think
okay, that's
now I also know that I think that was when they transitioned, right? Because it was BJJ box. And then like a magazine bought him, right? Didn't they got purchased?
I don't know actually if a magazine bought him. I mean, I talked to the owner a lot because I have he has the Fit Lifestyle box and also the BJJ box, so okay. 2 different companies. And because of my my fitness bottle product that we're developing, it kind of made sense. So we were working together. He's put Epic Roll stuff in the BJJ box. Okay. He likes the gear, and same thing. We were going to work together once the bottle gets released. But I've always gotten them in a box. I do understand if you're saying stuff that's potentially,
bro.
Yeah. Well, it looks like the BJJ box became the BJJ box.
At that time, I know. Again, I'm almost positive like it had been purchased by another company. So whoever owns it now, they had purchased it. So I was even giving them the benefit of the doubt. Okay, they're in transition. Things are a little crazy. I think it was maybe at the beginning of COVID. Had nothing bad to say about the box. The shit that was in it was awesome. I loved it. I always got a T-shirt.
Just wasn't in a box.
It annoyed me that something would always come like kind of messed up and stuff. And I was just like, I'm gonna cancel this. And then I just never went back on it. But I've actually talked about like doing it again, like because again, I like to give the stuff away, and I'm like, every time somebody gives me something, I split it up with the group here.
So you're wheeling and dealing, right? Have you ever had like a jujitsu business meeting? Like how some people like go golfing or they go to the bar or have the because I kind of have I'm not like corporate or anything like that, but I'm a project manager, so like I do go to like with my vendors and stuff like that, we go to meetings or whatnot, and it's always like you go to a restaurant, and I really like it because you get to see how they behave with the staff, and then usually you get a feel, but like have you ever had like a BJJ meeting? Like where you just like, let's go hang out and roll, and then talk.
Yeah. Well, from a business standpoint, all my BJJ meetings are with myself typically. And so I have a lot of meetings.
Hey man, I'll meet you in the bathroom.
Like,
we're gonna go.
What the fuck are you gonna do with this? And what are you gonna do with that?
Yeah.
But now again, I have a lot of different projects going on at once with a bunch of different people. So it's kind of, we talk quite frequently about all of that. Is, a lot of them are ongoing, or, we're developing brands like the stuff with Mason Fowler or Yuri Simoes. There's just, they're projects that are ongoing that we're kind of working through together. So we do have a lot of meetings about that. It's a lot to keep track of. But again, for me, these are all such fun projects, like running Epic Roll and having that and coming up with designs and doing that whole aspect is amazing. But when you add the element of all these athletes and these, different influencers and people that I've been fortunate enough to work with, it adds just a whole nother element.
But do you get to roll with them is what I'm asking. Like I'm saying, like,
yeah, I do.
You sponsor an athlete. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey man, I want to know what it feels like. I want to taste.
Absolutely. We have, it's funny. Like I'll just, cause I'm fortunate enough with my businesses to go and fly to LA or go down to Florida and, train with people or fly out and meet people. I mean, it's just, that's one of the things, but it took a long time to get to that point. You know what I mean? It wasn't an initial luxury. And I think these relationships through jiu-jitsu, that's kind of what's so special about jiu-jitsu, I think, is that it's such a beautiful community and such a tight-knit community. And so these relationships and the people that I've had the opportunity to work with is just, it's phenomenal. And everybody's super nice and very willing to help and work together. So that's been a really a really cool part is being able to connect with so many people through the basis and fundamentals of jiu-jitsu.
Tell us about the bottle. I read up on the bottle and I understand it. Tell everybody. You've mentioned it a couple of times and you said it might be in the. Is it the lifestyle box?
It's genius, bro.
Yeah. Well, so I'll give you like a little overview of it. Essentially, so I have a patent on kind of how this works, but it allows you to keep your water and protein separate. And one of the issues when you're carrying around water bottles or you want to mix a protein shake is a lot of times you have to keep the stuff here and then you have to pour it in or you have to scoop it in and there's like a whole process. So this basically allows you to keep that separate. And then when you turn the bottle and the top in opposite directions, it allows the water to mix with the protein. You shake it up and then you're good to go.
So you don't have to take it off like you just did. That would be, you take it off to put the protein in there. Okay.
Right. Yeah, it's like a closed fins, and then when you twist it, it opens the fins like
Correct.
that. And then the actual open fins act as the agitator for you to do the mixing. Now,
correct. Hey, look at this guy, right?
I'm an engineer.
I have him on for a reason.
So
very cool.
My only thing is I saw the little, I went to the webpage and I checked it all out. And I saw that there was like 2 piles of like protein powder on the website, and then there were some pills scattered. Now, is there somewhere? Now, is there a place for you to store pills also?
Hey, how you
doing? So this doesn't. I'm showing you the version of the bottle. If you just wanted it to be a water bottle and have it hold pills, the protein container screws onto the bottom of this, and then this screws onto the bottom of that. So overall, it doesn't end up being a tremendously bigger amount than like a blender bottle. Yeah. But it's kind of what it does that allows it to be kind of unique. So this is something that I created as a baby bottle when I had my son. This was actually, the idea was to start was a baby bottle. Yep. So we are doing the fitness bottle first and then launching the baby bottle secondarily because that's a very volatile industry. So the goal is to get this out, build this brand, get the recognition of that, refine any deficiencies that, when you launch a product, you always find out within the first year or two, like, are there any problems? Are there things that we can fix? You evolve to the next product. So taking that information into the baby bottle will be a help to make that a better product. But this has taken, again, this started in like 2008. So this has been a long time, two fully granted patents and, the tooling just to make the 7 pieces of this bottle was $200,000. So when I tell you it's expensive and like I could write a book on this whole process now because similar to starting Epic Roll, no one told me how to bring a product to market or how to get patents or how to do any of this stuff. And so it was just the longest road. And, when you're bringing a product to market, you also have points where when you start prior to manufacturing, you have to go through and refine everything and make sure it's perfect. Right. And we have so many influencers and so many amazing celebrities and people that are behind helping us promote this once it launches, that it's extremely important that it works perfectly, right? Yeah. And if it does, it's going to be a huge value to people. I mean, imagine like being on an airplane and you're trying to do a green smoothie or like a protein shake or whatever. You don't have to scoop anything. You don't have to be in your tight airplane seat and scooping and pouring water. You literally twist this.
I want to show you how I do it.
They won't let you bring that much water, so you could actually just have the powder in there, and then you get the water while you're on the plane, and then there you go.
Give me that bottle. I'm gonna show you how I do it. Give me that bottle.
I'm gonna knock it out.
So that bottle probably looks familiar. You know where that's.
Yeah, of course.
Right?
Yeah.
You know where that comes from. So this isn't the water bottle I use all the time, but this is one of them. And I take a piece of paper and I create a little funnel and then I pour my protein in it because you can't get any protein. You can't get the scooper to go in there. So I take a little piece of paper or a paper towel, which doesn't work that well. I pour the protein in and then I shake it up and it never shakes up really well anyway. But that's how I do it with this bottle.
It's such a process because it's very easy to get discouraged with going through this, especially because this has been going on for over 14 years. So if you think of like how long until you get a win, do you stop and go, oh my God, like this has taken this long to get to the partner I have, to get to the financial backing to bring it to market, like all the things. And one of the things that resonated with me when I was getting really frustrated going through the R&D refinement of this was I was reading about Dyson and James Dyson, who had the Dyson Vacuum, and he actually did 5,127 prototypes of that vacuum before he got it right. So that seems way more expensive, right, than the changes I'm making for this. But it also just resonated with me as like, hey, this is, that's just how this goes. You have to go through and you have to refine, you have to keep going. And eventually, you get there. But it's a very expensive, very time consuming and, tumultuous process.
So you are definitely like in the most positive sense of the word, a serial entrepreneur, right? You
100%.
And an inventor.
but not as a, just one of those things where I spent so much time in corporate America that it led me to that conclusion, right? It was just, I went and worked for so many companies and saw the way corporate America operates. And I saw that people talk a lot about job security. And I think when you are self-employed and you work for yourself, you don't have that security. People go, oh man, wouldn't you rather work for a company where you can get a salary and you could know that this money's coming in? And I said, well, yes, that is one theory, but do you know how many big companies told me, hey, by the way, we're selling next week, so see you later? And no fault to them, right? It's a business decision. But then you don't have security unless you own that company, unless you are the boss. That is the only way that you can control that outcome, right? So I was just at a point where I was like, let's reinvest in myself, create businesses that I'm in control of. That way, if I'm not willing to fail, I don't have to fear that unknown. I don't have to worry about not making it, because I won't let that happen. I'll work hard enough to make it happen, and believe in myself enough and work hard enough that I can do it. So once you commit to that notion and you sort of take charge, it's very empowering, and it gives you really an eye-opening thing to go, there's a lot that you can do out there.
Yeah, the secret sauce is that there is not a secret sauce. It's hard work, dedication, passion, grinding, not expecting somebody to pat you on the back. I'm not a business owner or an entrepreneur, but like I bring that mentality to work, and I feel like that's my job security. My job security is if the business that I work for went out of business tomorrow, I know 100% I can get a job somewhere else because I know how hard I work.
I worked at two relatively large companies. I helped two companies, I worked at one company where we started with 12 employees, and when I left 4 years later, we had 100 employees in two different offices. And I was the VP of the company, was the owner, and then me. And we used to sit there, and the owner had so much frustration in people coming and going. It was just like it's constantly having to hire, especially when you're talking about sales. Salespeople come and go, especially Florida. And we knew like people were going to come and go, and you had to be okay with that. And you had to know that part of the machine was the constant hiring, right? So fast forward, the company that I just left, it was a marketing company. So it was a lot of youngsters, kids that are right out of college, some still in college, in their 20s, 20-something. And the owner, this is when I kind of got a little, like, I started to realize that I knew I wasn't going to be there very long. I was there for 6 years, but I wasn't going to be there much longer. He worked it into kind of the business plan that these 20-somethings most of them wouldn't last more than a year. He had cited like an article that he read where it's like most millennials are going to be gone within the first year because they're coming out of school and they're going to take the next best job. They're just looking for the paycheck. It's not necessarily, they have the piss and vinegar to work really hard. So, and not everybody would, but that they'll jump to another job. They'll restart someplace else just for the money. And I realized he realized what I had realized at the other company, which was like, again, people are going to come and go.
He's a farm team owner.
Yeah, you have to keep on building. And it just kind of like the light went off. I'm like, yeah, he probably doesn't expect any of us to be here. Like the plan is like everybody's replaceable, and that's where I'm,
which is
where
true.
I was like, it is.
Yeah.
And most business owners, they feel like that, especially when you're talking about a company of 100 people. They are numbers. Somebody every week, somebody's resigning, somebody's putting in their 2 weeks, somebody new is starting. And I knew I was out. COVID changed my role at the job. We've talked about it before. And I just wasn't happy doing what I was doing. So I said, fuck it, I'm going to go reopen my own marketing company again. So sometimes, again, you get pushed into this place. I consider myself, I wouldn't say a serial entrepreneur, but I definitely like owning my own business, managing my own time. shut down today at 2:00. I took a nap and I came down to Miami to do a podcast into the wee hours of the late evening.
Sounds it sounds like you used to work for the owner of the Marlins.
Why do you say that?
That's how he is. He just gets talent and then he just keeps them for a little tiny bit and he builds them up and then bam. So I mean, he's sold so many winning teams. And I'm a diehard Marlins fan, so
I've had a lot of people that have reached out after just send me messages like, man, I wish I could do that. I wish I could just leave my job, but I'm stuck. And I kind of felt like I was stuck. And the only reason I stayed as long as I did was because when things we had just put down a deposit on a pre-construction, my wife and I, right at the beginning of COVID. And then things got really bad at work. And then we were stuck working from home. And then I'm like, I don't want to be here, but I can't quit. We've got to at least get through the mortgage approval. So I waited till after the mortgage was done. And I think they kind of felt it too. We know, like in my production, in my attitude, in my participation, I just wasn't happy anymore. So what are you going to do? You kind of know you're going to leave. And then I just, when I knew I was going to do it, boom, got myself set up to start my own marketing company again. And then I was out. But
cool beans.
Well, it's like in the serial entrepreneur thing, it's more that I'm aware that millionaires typically have a total of 5 to 7 streams of income. So, really, I'm very in tune with my life, my goals, and what I want my day-to-day to look like. So when you're very clear on that aspect of your life, you can logically work backwards from that on the steps to actually get yourself there. And so part of that is having multiple streams of income that allow me, because I've been in positions in the past where it was a great job, but the reality was that if I got hurt or if I couldn't perform, me specifically, that income goes away.
Yeah.
And that's a difficult thing to build a basis of like a financial security, around, because it's just reliant on you doing a task. And if you can't do that task, you don't get that money. So, being able to, and that's a very normal place to be when you're starting a business, but to have an exit strategy and understand how you might work yourself out of that job and hire other people to do that so that you can have passive income, that's part of it. I'm just very fortunate in a sense that it took a very long time to get my life organized into a place where I feel like I am doing the work that I should and was meant to do on this earth. It took a long time of working jobs that I didn't like to get to that position, but it was just about being very clear about the vision of where I wanted to go and continuing daily to just chop away at that and take the steps that I felt were the steps to get me where I eventually wanted to go. Right. So it was just this evolution, and but it was a lot of discipline, a lot of hard work, and but to me, it's very gratifying. I know a lot of people who work jobs who make a very good living, but they're miserable people. They live for the weekends and the vacations. And that's just, to me, when you look at the amount of hours that you end up working in your life, it's a tremendous amount of time that you spend doing a job. And what a tragedy in our short period of time that we have on this earth to spend it doing things that are not fulfilling and gratifying and that don't give you joy and that you're doing just out of cause and effect of your current situation. So that is the reality for people, because life isn't perfect. But if you're not willing to accept that as your long-term truth, you can then work through those hardships and position yourself to where that's not the case. And maybe you can't have your dream job now, but you're doing that in the side until it grows and then becomes something that you can rely on.
So now I got something.
You nodded in agreement before when he said something about like some people want the salary and the security of that. You nodded yes, and I nodded no while he was saying that.
I think both answers are okay.
Yeah. Because I nodded that way.
I like my job until I'm like him. I'm like, I've done a lot of jobs, man. I'm like, I'll start washing dishes again. That's how I started, And but what I'm saying is like it's like there's multiple paths, just like how he said. He did a whole bunch of wrongs to get to what is his right. I'm still trying to find my right. But this is what I want to ask you, right? Like, how much did jiu-jitsu help you find where you're at now, and how does jiu-jitsu either continue to help? Like, how does it still continue to help you? Like, what do you do? I mean, are you still rolling a lot? Like how does jiu-jitsu play a role in this?
I train 4 days a week on average.
That's awesome.
So jiu-jitsu has impacted my life way more than I could ever give back to it, which sounds super corny, but it's so true. Like the friendships, the business opportunities, the discipline, the ability to be comfortable in uncomfortable situations, to deal with adversity. All of those things were lessons that were directly and indirectly taught to me through jiu-jitsu, of going through it, because what a humbling martial art and sport, right? Like, I mean, you come into it as a white belt knowing nothing, using all strength and fight or flight, and then you start to recognize that there's this superpower and this way that you can position your body to control somebody, and it's amazing, and you never really master it, and it takes you on this incredible journey of humility and pain and joy. And so it's such a wide range of emotions that you go through with it. But I think at the end, especially if you stick with it, like getting my black belt was one of the best and biggest accomplishments of my entire life. I mean, obviously my children, my wife, those are the most precious things in my life. But getting my jiu-jitsu black belt was like, and only I think people that do jiu-jitsu can truly understand how impactful that can be, because you recognize what it takes to get there, right? Like, it's such a sacrifice and such a grind, and so few people do it, that when you have that, I mean, I honestly, like, I wasn't even emotional when it happened, which I was talking to a friend of mine, my good friend Maggie, who she got her black belt at the same night, which was incredible, because we were together 15 years ago. And we kind of got separated through training together. We're brought back at the end and then got our black belts together. It was amazing. But cool. We were talking about how, we were kind of both surprised that we didn't really get emotional when it happened. It was just so much joy and so much happiness and excitement that it was kind of surprising, and it just resonates with you for such a long time. So
you're smiling. You're smiling right now talking about it.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's just such a, and it again, there's a lot of stress that comes with that, right? Because any gym, like, I know a lot of gym owners, a lot of my buddies who are black belts that run schools, and so I cross train and go visit people all the time. And when you step onto the mats as a jiu-jitsu black belt at any gym, like, there's a target on your back. It's like people go, okay, you know what I mean? You can't like hide, like you're noticed. And so with that, there comes a level, at least for me personally, of black beltness that I have to maintain at all times.
You're accountable for your rank.
You are, like, we are very at my academy at Silverback. We have now about almost 10 black belts, and at any given day 3 to 5 to 6 on the mats rolling with people at any time, which is like,
that's great though. That's
insane.
A good
when I started
transfer of knowledge,
Oh, I mean, when I started in 2005, if there was like a purple belt in your school, you were like, holy shit, this is amazing, right? Like, that's phenomenal. It's a unicorn.
Yeah.
So I tell people now that really don't have the context to know how it is. I'm like, you guys are so spoiled. You don't know what it's like to have 12 brown belts and 10 black belts and 25 purple belts, to roll with and train with. It's incredible.
Sounds horrible.
You mentioned before that it took you 8 years to get. You were at brown belt for 8 years.
6 years.
Or 6 years.
6
I'm sorry.
years. 8 years is Joe Rogan.
Was there, what was the reason for that length of time? Did you feel like that was too long? Did things happen? I mean, normally, I mean, you're saying you're training for it. You're training double what I am right now because I've been hurt. But, why so long? Was that because
do we want to tell this story? I'll tell the story.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Do we want the juicy shit?
I'm trying to soften it up. Like, wait a minute, am I about to insult him? Like, hey man, why did it take you 6 years to get your book? Yeah, I was like, I caught myself in the middle of that question, going, oh shit, am I insulting him?
You know what? I think it's okay to ask the question because he's stuck with it. He's a black belt.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, give us the juicy shit.
Thank you to DD214 Fightwear, gear for patriotic rollers. Visit their website, dd214bjj.com, and get 15% off your online order with code JJD. And check them out on Instagram at dd214_fightwear. Thank you to Feito IT and AV, specializing in commercial and residential automation, security cameras, and CCTV. Check them out at feitoitav.com or call 305-428-2515 and let them know the Dummies sent you. Special thanks to Fightback CBD. Go to fightbackcbd.com and check out their growing line of CBD products. Find the best solution for your CBD needs and use code JJD to get 20% off your next purchase. Visit them on Instagram too at FightbackCBD. Special thanks to George Hernandez, Claims Adjuster. Have you experienced damage to your residential or commercial property in the state of Florida from flood or fire, storms, theft and vandalism, even sinkholes, just to name a few? Don't get stressed out dealing with your insurance provider. Call George Hernandez today and let the professionals get you the most compensation possible. Visit hernandezclaims.com or call 305-712-6751 to get help now. And stay in touch with them on Instagram at Hernandez Claims. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe wherever you're listening. And if you're watching on YouTube, click the bell to be notified every time we upload new videos.
Okay, here it goes. So the association, so I'm going to do it without using names, but the association that I was with before, I came to as a brown belt and was the highest ranked student there and helped, and I was the main, one of the main coaches, and basically was at that school for that amount of time. That was the school that I was initially going to get my black belt through. And it was supposed to happen a few years ago. Unfortunately, the gentleman that ran that school, who was a friend of mine, became a hater with any of the success with Epic Roll. So secretly, apparently, he wanted to start a gi company to be able to sell to the students and have like a little, revenue within his students. Everybody kept wanting to buy Epic Roll stuff, the kids, the parents, this and that. And he wanted to have one of those schools where it's like, no, you have to buy my stuff, this and that. And that was initially not really the case. He was supportive. It was like, cool, everybody's, I don't think he expected it to maybe turn into anything. It was just maybe this is in the beginning and we'll just promote it within the school and it'll be fine. But when it became something, this was one of those guys that unfortunately was not a supporter. He became a hater. And I'm sure you guys know that there's just those people in life that you go through that they can't stand to see other people's success. They can't stand, they like in me, I want all my friends to kill it. Like when my friends call me and they're crushing it, I'm like so fucking happy
it's no fun being rich by yourself.
Nope. It's not. And I mean, I do like whatever I can do to help my friends, like using my network or my business, connections, because people have done that for me. It's just, I don't know how you live any other way, right? Like that's just, to me, that's just how it goes. So instead of looking at what I was creating and realizing that as a small little jiu-jitsu place, you could use my connections and what I'm doing to help promote your school. We could work together. We can really, help him because he was not a designer. And instead, I got a text message telling me to leave the school. And so I was kicked out of the school. And here's the thing. In retrospect, that was the greatest gift I could have ever been given. Because when I pivoted and I went to Silverback, I had an insane amount of support. My instructor was like, "Hey, you know what our wall needs? A 6-foot wide Epic Roll logo on the wall above the Tom DeBlass. Do you see that like in every photo? Yeah. Like
I looked at it and I said, I wonder if he's an owner of that. Is he a part owner of that gym? Because your logo is bigger than everyone else's.
I mean, that was his idea, and I'm like,
I've seen it, yeah. And that would have look. I'm not a business owner or anything like that, but like if I'm running a little whatever thing going on, and I have somebody who's doing really really good, and they happen to be doing the thing that I want to do,
I'm going to learn how to do that.
Not even learn. I'll be like, I'll just make a little side deal with the guy who's doing it way better.
Yeah.
And then everybody wins.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's just common sense, but it comes from a place of love, man. Like I'm the same way, dude. Like everybody in this room is like that.
Yeah.
Everybody here is like, if we talk about something, it's not.
So for the greater, it's the greater good. Like, rising tide.
Good for you, man.
I was in a place when I was in my 30s. Again, I was making a lot of money. I was making almost $200,000 a year, and my friends were not. But we had a great time together. So like we went to get an apartment, and like nobody could afford it if we just split it 3 ways. So I said, hey guys, I'll take the master bedroom and I will pay more because it's going to be no fun living in a 1-bedroom here. Let's get the 3-bedroom and all live together and party. So like that's always been my mentality. It's just like
that's awesome.
Figure it out and kind of like again, it's no fun being at the bar, fucking being the idiot throwing money around. Well, not saying that I did it like that, but it's just no fun having fun with your money by yourself. You want other people around you that are like-minded and that, that enjoy that journey. Like you said, you got to like,
the tide's supposed to
I'm a believer in
the
The Secret, like The Secret and putting out good energy. Like I always talk about
the secret is that there is no secret.
Yeah,
there is no secret, bro.
It's so much harder to be a dick like that. The energy that it took, and I bet he never put out. I bet that coach never put out his gi brand.
If
he did, he got some Pakistani like email like that we all get that says, "Hey, would you like to buy my gis?" Like that's probably the company he's working with.
It never was gonna go to anything big time. It's a shame, man, because it really, I had a lot of kids there that I taught. I had a lot of people there. I got so many messages of people saying, you were our kid's favorite coach and this and that. But I looked at the situation where when I got my black belt, I'm standing there and I'm like with Tom DeBlass and he's in an Epic Roll gi and I'm like getting my black belt and this whole this crescendo, this amazing, I'm like, you couldn't have scripted a more perfect situation. And the support and love that I got from this school and from the people there, the genuine support and love, my instructor, Sean, he's a businessman. He recognizes too, there's a lot of, value that we both bring. So we're working together on YouTube videos and, doing seminars together. And so there's so much, again, that we are all doing together. It's a shame that individual took that route and pushed me away.
But now you're thanking him. Thank you for doing that.
It was the greatest gift that I was ever given. And I had a lot of resentment, but I sat there and logically I was like, how can I? Because this was like the universe self-corrected and put me on this other path where I was like, I genuinely go to sleep at night knowing that I'm a good person. I try to, not burn bridges.
That's the goal. Sleeping at night.
It was supposed to. It was if you're a good person and you put out good vibes and you do the right thing and you're not out to hurt anybody, that had to happen for you to be in the place that you are now. So like it's all about just kind of like timing, doing the right thing, being a good person. And it's so much harder to be an asshole. That guy, it took more energy for him and he got less out of the relationship with you by being an asshole. If he would have been like Miguel just said, like, hey, how could we do this together? Hey, you've got this figured out. Let's do something. He would be in a much better place, have you there. And now you're shining light on a different academy. By the way, how long have you been at Silverback?
A little over a year.
Okay. I actually trained. This kid used to come down to South Florida, and he used to coach at my gym in the summers. Andrew Stewart. I don't think he's still there. Do you know Andrew?
Dude, I love Andrew.
Is he still there? Is he still there at Silverback?
So here's what happened. So he actually just moved to Fredericksburg, like 40 minutes from us, and my buddy Colton Smith has a gym in down in Fredericksburg. So I linked them up, and because Andrew's an amazing black belt, and so he's been training down with them. He's gonna, I think, eventually he's gonna open up a Silverback affiliate school down there. But I love Andrew. He was at my,
I was rolling with him. He ran the kids classes and coached at again in the summers at my first gym that I went to that I started at as a white belt. And he just got his blue belt when he first came down, and I was just getting started. He was a monster at a blue belt.
So you've never rolled with him as a black belt?
I've never rolled with him as a black belt.
It's gotten worse.
Yeah, he is so super athletic. He's just
so good at his leg attacks are bananas, bro. He's really good.
Jiu-jitsu for him was like it was what he was meant to do.
Yeah. And
his jiu-jitsu flowed just so well, even at blue belt. I remember now looking back, I can go, man, I remember rolling with him. He was just so smooth. Yeah, it was what he was meant to do.
Dude, can I give a quick shout out to my son?
Sure.
All right. So I don't get to see them roll as much as I did when they rolled at Felipe's because of the time.
Yeah.
And so I got to make it to one of the practices, and both the kids are good or whatever, but Cooper has like this little freaking knack, bro. Like, I don't know what it is, and he loves arm bars, and he will like, people who like, I'm gonna make this move happen. That's how he is with arm bars, dude.
Yeah.
There was one point where he like did like a flying arm bar on this kid, and he doesn't do it maliciously. He just like loves them, so he likes doing it, and he's not mean about it. And he's landing arm bar after arm bar, and then I was like, oh, maybe it's just that opponent, and then they switch opponents, arm bar, and then both the coaches,
great feeling,
like separately, like look at me and they go, bro. And I go,
is he doing arm bars on teddy bears at the house?
No, me, man.
Yeah.
I can't sit on the couch. I'm getting choked. He's got a good guillotine, but he's not allowed to do them.
Yeah. Okay.
He's got a good guillotine.
Yeah.
Like he really reaches in there and like he understands like the mechanics of like using his chest or whatever is on top of the crown of the head to push that down while leveraging up. And like I legit, he's like, did you tap for real? And I was like, I tapped for real, bro. Like,
Matt, you got some kids that do jiu-jitsu as well, right? You got your
got
family.
two boys, right?
I started both. Yeah, two boys. Yeah, I started them both when they were like 5, and my oldest son Tyler, he's actually at a wrestling tournament right now, and my wife was texting me and said he won his matches, so it looks like he's going to districts, which is pretty great.
Awesome.
He's folk style wrestling.
What's that?
Folk style.
Yeah. He's wrestling with his high school, and he didn't initially want to do it, but kind of recognized like it would be a great thing for just athleticism, and then to add to his jiu-jitsu.
Good for Tom.
Because he's about to get his blue belt, and he's 16, and I got my blue belt at 27. I mean, he has he trains with adults. He's the youngest kid in our thing. We don't have a kids program, so basically he came in. He's still an orange belt technically. And I mean, this kid is rolling with adults and savages like nonstop, and he's killing it. It's the trippiest thing to be like, wow, he's like now a human, a little big human.
We've had a couple stories where people were like, oh, I was at this belt for this long of a time because of injuries. I fell out of love with it, then fell back in love with it. I switched a lot of gyms, blah, 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 blah. So your situation is a bit unique because you were getting after it. You just weren't getting promoted for a very auxiliary reason.
No politics in jiu-jitsu, right? No politics.
Whatever.
No politics in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, you stay in long enough to realize that you're the villain.
God.
But who cares? I'm saying like you were getting after it the whole entire time. You were teaching. You were still actively rolling. So when you switch schools, competing. So when you switch schools, were you smashing?
This is the thing. I felt like I was always competing at every single belt level. I fought MMA for a little bit. And as a brown belt, I was a 4-stripe brown belt for over 2 years. Like I said, I was supposed to get this a while ago. I mean, in retrospect, it was great. In fact, when I was talking to Tom DeBlass about it, I like told him the situation, and he's like, "Who was your instructor?" And I said his name. He's like, "Never heard of him."
Yeah,
I was like,
I was like, you get to say you're a Tom DeBlass Black Belt now.
Yeah, exactly. But I think I was even a purple belt for 6 or 7 years. Like I said, this was 16 years. I started in 2005. So the association I was before, it was very much like, don't you ever ask how your jiu-jitsu is going or how you're doing or anything that even remotely resembles maybe possibly sort of asking about, your progression. Like, don't ever do it or else you're waiting 10 years. It's just bullshit, man. It's like, at the end of the day, we're trying to get better at things, and we're trying, and so people who are getting into jiu-jitsu, my recommendation is really find a school where you feel supported and you feel like, it's a good environment, because there are a lot of unhealthy, toxic environments that pop up, and that bout of the belt sort of mentality and the different things. Like, I go and cross train anywhere I want. My instructor has no insecurities about that at all, because he knows that I want to be there, and he also knows that he's an amazing teacher, as we remind him all the time. So people want to be there. So to kind of go back to your question, when I went to Silverback, I had a rude awakening to what level of jiu-jitsu I actually had. And so now I sit back and say, thank God that I went there, because that made me such a more competent black belt. Like, my jiu-jitsu got so much better being there, applying things, because I mean, just things that we were taught incorrectly. And I remember the first time I rolled with Sean, and this is after doing jiu-jitsu for so many years, and I rolled with him, and I was like, I can't do anything. Like, I literally couldn't pass his guard. I couldn't do anything. He was tapping me out 4 or 5 times in a 5-minute period. And I was just like, what the hell is going on? So to me, that gave me this entire other perspective of, the levels of jiu-jitsu.
There's levels.
It gave me something to aspire to, because as I've traveled around and rolled with a lot of different black belts, there are definitely levels. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes people are old and they just got, whatever. And then sometimes people I'm like, you're a black belt, but you're a black belt in a weird town in North Dakota. You're not a black.
Yeah.
And that sometimes doesn't even mean anything, because they could be that guy who's like drilling all the time. They could be, I honestly think like a Kent Peters type story, like where you just like so damn dedicated and really just love it so damn much that you're going to find a way to get that good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then there's the people who just, and I don't hate on any of it. I don't hate on, I've rolled with resident black belts that they're not like part of the gym or anything. They're just black belts because they've been doing it forever. And it's a great release. They love the people that they're hanging out with, and they get jujitsu out of it. And when you roll with them, you get that vibe too, you know? So it's like
the vibe that you don't have to win every round. Is that what you're kind of saying? Like it's not about murdering each other. It's more about having the fun with
But they can, and you can feel it, but they just refuse to.
Yeah.
And you're like, you get to a point, I think, in jiu-jitsu where it's like you ask a question that's very like self-centered. You're like, why aren't you trying to kill me? You know, and then you don't ever ask yourself like, why aren't they trying to kill me? You know, and then you learn about you learn about like different vibes. You know, like sometimes you could even feel like you roll with a guy like 3-4 times, and then you don't roll with them for like a month, and then you roll with them again, and then you could tell like, hey man, you okay? And they're like, you know what, man, I've been stressed out, and you even feel people being stressed out just from rolling with them. And it's just like, dude, I just love how accommodating
I like Brendan McCaffrey's take on it. We talked about, God, it was over a year ago now. We talked about when he has like somebody that's big and trying to smash him, he loves going even like lighter, letting them attack, and then still submitting them like in that gentle way. The satisfaction and what you teach him is like, look, even when you go that hard, I'm still going to tap you. So don't go that hard.
I've done that with you.
You know. Yeah, that's great. We have a great story. I won't bore everybody with that. Should I tell that story again?
It's very simple.
So I'll tell it to Matt. Some of our listeners have heard this before, and I'm sure we have lots of new listeners as well.
Yeah.
So when Miguel first started at our gym, the second I rolled with him, I knew he was a wrestler. I think I even asked him. I said, "Did you wrestled?" I knew he had something because he had a white belt on, but I could just see. I wrestled a little bit in junior high. I sucked, but I could recognize a wrestler. And we rolled a little bit, and it wasn't during that roll, but at some point we rolled together. And we finished the session.
Sunday. It was a Sunday.
Yeah, we finished a roll, open mat, and at the end of it, I probably tapped you a couple of times in that first roll, and then he goes, "Hey man, do you mind if I roll 100%?" And in my mind, what I took, I'm sitting there, we're ready to roll again. I think it was like a small class, so like we were rolling together again.
Nobody wants to roll with you.
And nobody wants to roll with the big guy. And he looks at me, he says that, and my mind just went to, this motherfucker here is telling me that, hey, grandpa, I just took it easy on you. Now I'm going to really roll. Like, do you mind if I roll hard? That's how my mind took it at that time. Again,
mind if we actually do jiu-jitsu?
Yeah. I think I was probably like a 4-stripe blue belt, or maybe I had my purple belt by that,
you were purple.
time. But that's where my mind went with it. And I was like, this motherfucker, okay, all right. And then we rolled, and he went super hard, and then I tapped him a couple of times. Yeah. And at the end, I said, you were better when whatever percentage you rolled, you were better when you didn't roll 100%, because then he was all over the place. It was just like, I started jiu-jitsu at 35. I've wrestled in high school. I did combatives in the military, so like I went into it like as a man, like I know that I'm not going to be an ADCC champion. I know that I'm not going to be an IBJJF adult, gold medalist, double gold medal, absolute, all that stuff, right? I'm not in it for that. I like the fact that I feel comfortable in uncomfortable situations, and I embrace the suck, bro. I really do. I love it. I like being miserable sometimes. I want to tell one more I want to tell a good story.
But I just wanted to say it. Like I knew even at the beginning that I had to like do it slow and suck at it and get my licks. But I knew not to be an a-hole and be spazzy, because I didn't want to get hurt. Dude, I'm 30 and I got injuries already. You know what I'm saying? I've done weird stuff. And, but I just wanted to try what, like just going full gorilla, muscle it out, whatever happens, happens, And it didn't turn out well. I'm
gonna pat him on the back now too, though, because there was one time we were rolling together. You had hurt your arm or your shoulder, and we were gonna roll. And I said, I could sense or I knew that he had an injury, and I was like, we don't have to roll, you don't want to. He takes his arm, he puts it inside of his belt, And at white belt, he's like, okay, come on, let's roll. And I was like, all right. I put my arm in and we rolled one arm. And that's when I think I told that story on the last podcast when you weren't here. I was like, okay, that guy, not only does he love jiu-jitsu, but I respected him so much for doing that, because he could have easily been like, oh, my arm's fucked up, I'm gonna, he put it in. I was like, yeah, this guy's gonna.
And somebody tried giving jiu-jitsu. Somebody tried to tell us not to do that, and I was like, just let us have fun, bro. It's like I've rolled with Milton enough, even though I was very new, but we'd known each other for like a couple months already.
We were friendly.
I know enough that he's not gonna try and murder me, and I'm not gonna try and murder him, but we're gonna go hard. Like me and John. Dude, when me and John would roll together, not that you know John or anything, but I'm just saying, like, when me and John roll together, I'm talking about like people would stop their roll to like look at us and just go like, what are these idiots doing? Because like it's not like we were good, but like we're both like military guys, and like we knew that we could just like try to kill each
John
other.
John rolls hard. But that's why, you know what though? That's why I haven't been there for 2 weeks, but he's been out for a while. He's been
he
out
hurt his knee. Yeah. Jiu-jitsu will teach you that.
Matt, I'm curious. Any major injuries? Anything that's kept you sidelined for an extent? I thought before when you said how long it took you to get your brown belt, I figured there was probably an injury in there somewhere.
Me too. Yeah, that's usually the
story.
story.
Well, you are correct. There was an injury in there, so in that time it put me out for about almost a year. I had a massive herniated disc in my back, and I used to have a school with my buddy Salvatore Sanguinetti, who is Kenny Florian's cousin. And so I got to train a lot with him. So he had invited me to go with him and Kenny to Peru to this big black belt seminar and this whole thing. I was excited to go. And then I was getting off the couch and I sneezed like a little bitch and fell to the ground. A sneeze, and I fell to the ground. And I was like, well, I can't get up. I was like crawling so for 4 days, I literally couldn't stand up. And when I went to the doctor, they said, hey, this is the deal. They tried to suggest surgery, which I knew people who had this surgery and they were back in the same issue before. So I spent a year rehabbing it and strengthening the muscles in my core and going to chiropractor and doing all these things, and eventually fixed it without any kind of, surgery. And so I made it through MMA pretty unscathed. My pinky toe is broken. My LCL on my right leg pops out. I have the worst arthritis you've probably ever seen.
Oh
in your
yeah,
life on
you got the knuckles.
I have like butt cheeks on my fingers.
That's
my
key
neck is
jiu-jitsu
hurt,
for
my
you,
shoulder.
baby.
I mean, my body, like I notice more when I'm not in pain than having pain. Like if I don't have pain, I'm like, holy shit, how do I not have pain?
I know.
There's that meme. I mentioned that meme a few episodes back that says, I went to the doctor and he asked me how much pain I was in. He's like, well, what's the normal amount of pain? And he says, 0. No pain is normal. So, that's a jiu-jitsu guy for you.
Jiu-jitsu guys.
Yeah.
No,
you made me think of this meme. I reposted this meme. I don't know if you follow, I think a lot of people follow him now. A student of BJJ.
Yeah.
You know that? I'm going to read this meme because I think it's funny. It says, hi, welcome to Jiu-Jitsu. Please sign this waiver indicating that this sport is literally the most dangerous thing you could ever consider doing. Also, have you heard about our kids class?
Yeah. Dude, my favorite one is the Pawn Stars guy.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, I want to learn some self-defense. And then it says like jujitsu like on him. And he's like, best I could do is back injuries.
So I actually have that's leading me to a question, Matt. Yeah. So having a teenager that does jiu-jitsu,
probably two.
Like I started when I was old. I started when I was right before my 41st birthday. So I was an old timer already. What do you tell your kids, or what do you tell your wife? You have these injuries and you have your kids in jiu-jitsu. Like, is that the dirty little secret of jiu-jitsu? Like, yeah, you're going to be fucked up when you're older. In your 20s, you're going to have these problems that I'm having in my 40s. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that I spend a lot of time emphasizing to all people that are starting jiu-jitsu about the importance of how they train, especially for people that are starting later on in life. One of my brother-in-laws, I finally convinced to do jiu-jitsu after being married to my sister for like 7 years, and he's a blue belt. He's like nerds out on it. He loves it. It's like been a whole thing. It's amazing.
He drank the punch.
And yeah, completely. So I kind of got him on board with it. But he's, in his 30s too. And I'm like, look, I was sort of an idiot when I started because no one sat down and told me the importance of these things. I went into it not knowing anybody and not really having any preconceived notions about, you know, what the results of what I did to my body now we're going to, you know, do down the line. And so training smart, tapping, you know, early, these type of things. I'm like, if you're going to be in this a long time, then you have to train this way. It's not even an option because you're going to fuck your body up beyond repair, or you're, you know, like spastic, someone's going to be spastic and they pop a rib, or they, you know, whatever the case. It's, you know, it's really important. And I think it's kind of like, I feel as a responsibility as a, like a veteran in this, to talk to people and at least try to, you know, clear that up, and also tell them that this is it's an up down, you know, you're going to get to plateaus at every single belt level. You're going to feel like I'm plateaued. I'm not getting any better. I'm not, you know, and so just having a conversation about what to expect through the course of the next however many years, I think really adds value to people staying in it longer, because they have like an understanding of what, you know, to do and how to maybe stick in it longer, which is great. Because if not, you're gonna hurt yourself very quickly. You're gonna hurt yourself, and especially being older, right? We're like a little bit more resilient when we're younger, but as we get older, we don't heal as quicker. Like when I was in my 30s, it was just, you know, I started noticing like 35, I was not bouncing back as quick.
I'm 4 years younger than you. I'm feeling it.
Yeah,
it's starting to feel.
The struggle is real. So, so I do. My wife does see that. She was a massage therapist in the past, so we really try to harp on our kids about stretching and, you know, just mobility in general, and those things that they can do to help their body so that they don't end up decrepit even younger.
Right. Yeah. Actually, jujitsu has made me more flexible than I've been my whole entire life. Because I think a lot of people like you that are disseminating the information to the newer generation is actually helping. And there's also just the advancements in technology, and I think that anybody so there is a huge lack of knowledge of taking care of yourself and nutrition and exercise and working through injuries like you did. It's not just like, oh, my back hurts, so I don't use my back. It's contrary. It's like, my back hurts, I need to use my back more and strengthen the things that hold my back up, right? So like, but the people that are in the know, and then the people that are trying to get into the know, I think we've leapfrogged this information to the point now where we have like awesome things like massage guns, and then like the So Right, and then the So Right for like your back, and then you have rollers, and you have people who are doing ice baths and you know, saunas, heat shock proteins, cold shock proteins. Like these are like, if you're like barely in any sort of fitness type of environment, like these things are common knowledge now.
Yeah, the recovery side of
things. The recovery side of thing is a big thing. Nutrition, taking care of yourself.
Even just working out.
Yeah,
even just working out with weights.
Exactly.
I talk about it all the time. I feel the best when I go to jiu-jitsu one day, work out the next, go to jiu-jitsu again. You know, not kill myself on the weights, but I feel stretching. But I feel like weight training always helps me recover better. You know, especially if I can put a day between the training. So
I like the 90-10 rule for myself, whereas like I pick my days where I go into the gym and I'm going to go, okay, today I'm going to go fucking ham, and it's going to hurt for like 3-4 days afterwards. But like you also need a red line, you know, your car, like you need to stomp on that gas at least once a month, and you need to clear out those carbs, man. Like if you have a combustion engine vehicle, if you have an electric vehicle, I don't know. If you have an electric engine, if you have anything with a battery, it is not good to leave the battery full all the time. It is good to deplete the battery all the way and then charge it all the way, and that actually helps.
That's what I'm doing with my Tesla that I'm waiting to be delivered.
There you go. Yeah. So just know that conditioning your battery is also, it's don't keep it full all the time. Sometimes
you actually only charge it to like 75-80%.
I've never gone to the gym and said like, I'm going to go ham today. If there was ever a time
I meant the jiu-jitsu gym.
No, I get that. If there's ever been a time that did cross my mind, I run into a guy like Adolfo who just fucking puts me on my ass, and I'm like, yeah, I guess good. I'm not doing that today.
No, but you're still going ham, especially against that freaking guy.
I'm saying like if I went in there going, I'm going to crush everybody today, then you run into then it's a day like Adolfo, Felipe, Tom, and 3 other black belts show up, and that's it.
Tom is my nightmare, man.
But I definitely, I'm of the mindset like I always let, to use your analogy, like my opponent always has control of the acceleration of our roll. Like I'm going to go as fast as you want to go.
Yeah.
because because I'm a heavier guy, if I go ham on people, it's perceived as being a bully.
Be a bully sometimes, dude.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna go harder with a bigger guy, but because until recently, most of the guys in the gym have been smaller guys.
You got some big boys in there now.
We've got some very large.
Yeah,
we've got like a 300-pounder in there.
I know.
Right now.
I showed up on a Sunday and I was like, what size gi is that?
I pulled guard on him the other day. I was like, what the fuck am I doing?
I pulled guard on that same guy, and I only did it because he was a white belt.
Yeah.
And then I was like, but then I forgot that Felipe's teaching him, so he probably taught him like what's good for him.
Yeah.
Because he's very good about being specific to the students.
Yeah.
He's got a small enough. I mean, he's got a big school, but he's got a small enough school where he could be specific still. And boy, he was a nightmare. I was like, I got to get out from under this.
Never pull guard on. I will never pull guard on him again.
Yeah.
We do a lot of lockdown. Our coach is known for his lockdown. So like, I'm always like, I'm using that, and it helps me control the pace, especially with my heart. I don't want to be. I don't want to overexert myself right away. I want to last the whole round. And okay, let me pull guard, let you do your thing, and then I'm going to try to trap you in something. And
I use it to wrestle up now. I love that half guard. Now I use it for arm drags, entrances into single leg.
Lockdown?
Yeah, I use the lockdown to do arm drags and get the back, or I'll use the lockdown to go to single leg X and also to go into matrix. But I use it mainly. I use the lockdown now more to get into leg entanglements, ashigarami, than anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got a question to expand on what we just said about the kids. How does your wife feel about all of this? Number one, the jiu-jitsu side of things, and even your kids competing. And what does she think about the business side? Because I'm always curious, because my wife thinks I'm crazy every time I have a new idea. Tell me about your relationship with your wife and the support that you get.
Yeah. And since she'll hear this, she's so supportive.
My wife is not going to hear this, and she looks at me like I have four heads every time I come up with an idea. She's like, "Do you really want to spread yourself that thin, Milton?"
Hey, Bo, insert in the "it's a trap" meme.
It is. No, she actually, when I started jiu-jitsu, you know how when you first start, once you get bit, like you nerd out on it hard. And so I went from no jiu-jitsu to training like 5 days a week jiu-jitsu, and then by the way, I want to start fighting MMA, and I'm competing, and and I just became a dad, and we had just gotten married, and so there was a point, I think up until about purple belt, where there was every time I'm gone a lot training, and I think it was very frustrating for her. But then it got to a point where she recognized what an integral part of my life it was, and how much it helped me, and decompressing, and just the community.
Make you a better husband?
Absolutely. Yeah. She was like, you're kind of a dick when you don't train, like you need to go train, and when I started with Epic Roll, I think she was very confused, like, why are you spending time doing this stupid thing that you're doing? Like, what are you doing? Like, why do something else? Like, why are you? And again, because it was influenced by like passion and what I actually wanted to do, and not driven, by me trying to say I want to make some money. I put the time into growing it. And so now she looks and says, well, it's a whole different thing, right? Now it's a full-time second job. It's a revenue stream for our, for our family. And it's just in the beginning phases too. So,
played out
so
perfectly.
I think she's very okay with it now, but it took a little bit to get around. And I understand that we're some people, like people that are not entrepreneurs, it's totally cool, but it also, a lot of our behaviors are very foreign to them. Like we kind of look like weirdos.
They're not risk takers. We're risk takers. You have to be a little bit.
And it's like, again, I mean that no disrespect to anybody, because the world, if it was full of entrepreneurs, it'd be a bunch of like ADD people trying to just start businesses. It'd be crazy. But so you need all kinds of people. But for me, I think like a lot of the mindset and going through these things, were foreign concepts to her, but she really tried to be supportive throughout the process, and I think then started to see the feedback, and then it gets to a point where it becomes undeniable, and then it was just now it is.
Well, you guys are also business partners, and you've been married for over 17 years, and you have children together, and so I mean, I could only imagine it hasn't been all ups,
Absolutely not.
So it just sounds like you got a good one, man.
My wife just now it's just like, go ahead. If you
ignorance is bliss.
No, well, it's part like I tell her everything I tell you I'm going to do, I do. I'm not going to start something unless I really truly believe. So you just have to believe that I really believe and I'm going to make it work. We met. I rented an office from her company. That's how we met when I started my first marketing company. And I went from myself in basically like their smallest closet of an office to 10 employees. So she saw me build something. And then I had to close that. And I went to another company and made a very good salary. We got married. And I always had something on the side, whether it was a t-shirt website or it was the podcast. And she's, in the beginning, I told her, give me 2 years for the podcast. Give me 2 years. I'm not going to ask anybody for a dime. After the first year, then we're going to start looking for sponsors. Everything's going to be, relationships and giving stuff away. And if they want to give us product, great. The second year, COVID. It was right. Like our anniversary is like right there, March, April, when we started conceiving this. So then it was just like, I still was able to get sponsors. So I was still able to show her profit. Like, okay, look, it worked. And it worked in the middle of COVID when nobody wanted to spend any money. Everybody was like, listen, hold on. My gym is closing. This is happening. I don't know if we're going to be around. If gyms are closing, then sales go down.
Stimmy's helped out.
And then so anyway, so my point is if you trust me, trust that I know what I'm doing and that I'm never going to start something and do it half-assed. I'm going to throw everything into it. But that's, when you're in a relationship, that's also scary. It's like, okay, so you mean you're taking yourself away from the relationship. But I tell her everything I do is for the family. Like this money, like you said, it's a revenue stream. This money goes into the pot and, it's what pays for the house and what pays for the food and,
Milton has a business or is, I don't even know. I just know him. This costs me money. I honestly I love jujitsu. I just love it. I love martial arts. I've been kicking pillows and wrestling with my sister's dolls my whole life. I've always enjoyed contact with other people, whether it be it's always been friendly. I've been hired to, I volunteered to be in conflict. And I grew out of that. And
sorry.
It's just, dude, if I had to say one thing is like Milton really likes doing this too. And I could tell that you like doing it. I call
it the idea on a napkin. There's nothing more fulfilling than my own idea or a client's idea and helping them take it from, I have this concept. Okay, let's do the logo. Let's figure out the domain name. Let's build the website. Let's do everything that you need. And then letting them kind of fly with it. That's so fulfilling for me.
But on top of it, you like it.
I like doing that. I like doing it for myself, but I love doing it for other people too, because the satisfaction that it brings me to help somebody go from nothing to something is it's a good feeling.
You know what my wife and I call Thursdays?
What's that?
Thursdays is fucked. Because I wake up, I go to work. I wake up at 6 a.m. I hang out with the kids for a little tiny bit. I'm at work by 7 or at a job site or something like that. You know what I'm saying? I work. This means nothing to you, but like it's like I work in Baltimore, but I live in freaking like Virginia, and I got to take that train. You know what I mean? Essentially, like I work in West Palm Beach and I live in Davie, and this is in Miami. So this is like, it's like a trip, and like. I wouldn't trade it.
That's awesome, bro. We love having you, man. Hopefully, the all the apparel that you got.
Yeah, I get paid in t-shirts. I pay him
in swag that people give us, or our own t-shirts. And
dude,
stuff.
I give it away. I give it away because I'm also.
You gave one of the rash guards DD14 to Junior.
To Junior yesterday. Awesome, the coach, he doesn't like being called professor. By the way, where I trained at Henzo's in Weston, and. He wears them all the time. I don't tell him to, and I also feel
the
weird.
Jiu Jitsu Dummies one.
He wears it all. He wears it all the time. I just think I think people just like free stuff, so I just give it away. I like it when you give away something and they're like, "Oh, this is cool."
And they appreciate it.
Yeah.
Again, that's the whole. You put out that vibe, the whole power.
$25. Oh, I don't want that piece of shit.
Yeah.
Let's get into some of the listener questions we got, Matt. I'm gonna give you. Let's do. We got a Jits_4_life. Jits for life. As a black belt and the journey that you took to receive in what you do. Now I always got to decipher sometimes because the way people write things was a little weird. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna jump forward because that sentence is a little off. I feel like I'm always hurt. Currently, I have an elbow and knee injury, and it's obviously preventing me from training more. Do you stretch certain ways for jiu-jitsu? Do you take supplements for joints? It's a long journey, and I have a long way to go. I want to make it there, but need my body to allow me to do so. We've kind of been talking about that already. What are your thoughts on that, Matt?
Yeah, I don't know that there's any one prescription that works for everybody, but there's obviously a series of things that you can do to help promote that idea of longevity. So obviously your diet, nutrition, supplements, taking things that are, fish oils, things that are good for joints, joint health, having stretching and mobility, core strength. Those are super important aspects of being a good grappler. So any and all of those things on a relatively consistent basis is going to put you usually way ahead of most people, because what you typically find is there's 1,000 diets out there that you could choose from. And if you put them all on the wall, threw a dart at one, and then just pick that and did it for 30 days consistently, you're going to see results because it's different than what you've been doing and you were consistent. So any of these things that you can do, whether it's stretching or strength training for your bone density, taking certain supplements, making sure your nutrition's on point, all those things are going to be an aid for your body as a whole, not only to just be healthy, but then also be able to perform on the mat. So I think they're all super important components. But injuries happen sometimes, and it's no fault of ours. Somebody spazzes out, somebody cranks too hard on your heel, somebody, those are the inherent risks that you take being a grappler. You can't control all of them. They just, things happen, but you can certainly take measures to be a smarter grappler and to control. You can't control other people, but you can control how you are, right? So how controlled you are with people and how you roll can set an example for others. And I think that's really the best way to keep
also
yourself
picking
on the
your
mats.
roles. Yeah, you could pick your roles too. If there's like this really, like he's a competitive person and he's in a competitive mood, and you've been watching what they've been doing, and they're like, "Hey man, you want to go?" And I'd be like, "Not today," because I know what's gonna happen.
Not all schools are like that. I mean, I didn't feel like I didn't always feel like I could do that. I've only trained at two gyms. I didn't always feel as a lower belt, as a white and blue, that I could turn down a request to roll from a higher belt.
I pay a lot of money to train.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think about that, Matt? Like in the gyms that you've been in, if you told a white belt to come roll with you and he said no, or a blue belt, or even a purple, and he was just like, "Nah, man, I don't." What would you say to somebody like that?
Well, that's their loss. I mean, if they really didn't want to, I don't. I haven't had that. Most of the people are excited for that. You put your ego on hold, but I never understood, you'd see those people that come in like a white belt, and I'm rolling with a white belt, I'm a black belt, and they're freaking trying, like this is ADCC trials, like to kill me, and I'm like, so the expectation is that they're going to catch the black belt and they're going to submit me, and it's going to be like fucking victory for them. And I'm like, it's just the wrong mindset. Like, first of all, no, you're not. And I'm going to make it really uncomfortable for you if you start training like an asshole with me and smashing me and hitting me and all this kind of stuff. So I can be just as violent back in a much more technical way. So I always tried to go after the higher belts and roll with higher belts because, one, they put me in positions that other lower belts didn't. They were usually willing to teach me. They were usually able to execute all of this with ease and without a lot of strength, so I didn't end up getting hurt. So I walked away growing from that. I mean, as a white belt rolling with another white belt, because why? Because you want to win too. You want to go home and not lose and get your ass handed to you every single time you train. So I understand that. But when you become a student of jiu-jitsu and you embrace that humility and you recognize, like me, after all of these years, I still sit there and I learn every single time I go to class. Every single, I study at night, I watch videos, I train constantly. And it'll never be enough. Like, I'll never master it. So when you just embrace that in the beginning, it seems like a very difficult concept, right? Because it's so vast and doesn't really have an end date on it. You're just like, for me, if you do jiu-jitsu, as long as you physically can, most people are like, I'm going to just do this the rest of my life, right? Unless an injury happens or, rarely. I mean, I don't know. When people get to like purple belt or brown belt and they quit, I'm like, what the fuck happened? Like, that's a tragedy to me. Like, you're in the wrong place. Or I know things happen, but in general, I think that stuff is super important to be mindful.
I've ran across people that are out to hurt people.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
See, so what you're talking about, the reason it hasn't happened to you is because you don't give off that vibe, and then you're understanding. But I've I've actually said no to a higher belt at an open mat at a different school because I was watching them, and every single person they rolled with, I heard there wasn't a tap, it was an you know,
and that also goes to like why we're there.
I made the mistake. I got my ankle hurt really bad because this guy freaking did an Estima lock on me while I was just playing open guard, and I mean went for it, and I couldn't walk for like a day. And this is like a black belt. Like, dude, like, what are you doing? Like,
see, like guys like you and me that we know why we're there.
Yeah,
and it's not to be, like you said before, we're not looking to be world champions and compete at every local event or whatever. I'm there for the camaraderie. I'm there for the exercise. I love the sport. I love training jiu-jitsu, but I can take it easy. I can pick a partner. I could tell somebody no. But what Matt said before was, like, I know, like Carlos Santos.
Yeah.
I love rolling with him. He comes on to the open mats on the weekend because I know that I can ask him about the move that he just used to choke the shit out of me.
He does.
I can ask him, and he'll take a few minutes and show me what he did.
Yeah.
And he's somebody that I know that I can ask. Not that I can't ask Professor, because I obviously can, but there are just certain people that don't like really sharing the information. It's like, let's just roll. No, come on, next roll.
Mm-hmm.
But there are certain people that are like super like giving of the information. I like especially when it's a higher belt. I like rolling with guys like that.
They'll put it on you too, bro.
And
everybody should be like that. Like upper belts, honestly, in my opinion,
that's their job.
There's no reason not to be like that, bro. It's just like that's not the jiu-jitsu way. Like to hold that over somebody or with that whole bow to my belt mentality and not share stuff. Like anytime anybody wants to know, hey, what did I do wrong? Like I'll sit and talk to you for as long as I need and answer every question you have and go through and share knowledge, because people did that for me. I mean, that's like that's the value of training with upper belts.
I think at very least at brown belt and above, and maybe even at purple, it's kind of your job. You're expected. Your coach is looking at as a brown belt. Your coach is looking at. You're at that point going, or that your coach is saying, okay, you're not beating up on people anymore. You got to kind of help with the class. Help take that white belt. Keep an eye on somebody that's doing something stupid. I mean, that's kind of the job enforcer. At that point. Not even that. Just like, hey, like being able to take some. Like my thing is, I love to give the information, and if I do something or I see somebody doing something wrong, sometimes I go to share information and somebody is not really accepting of the information. It's kind of like, come on, dude, let's just roll. Even at low belts.
I know.
I'm not talking about. And then so I've just learned to be like, hey man, do you mind can I show you something? Like, I let them say yes or no, and they're almost always going to say yes, but I don't just tell them what to do because it comes off like, okay, now you're the coach now. Hey, listen, that thing that you did, can I show you how I do it? Do you mind? I give you just a little hack on that. And that's one of my favorite parts of jiu-jitsu is helping other people and teaching. I love that part. I love seeing somebody, again, like the idea on a napkin I said before, showing somebody something they're doing wrong or something that they didn't know. Like, again, the lockdown's a big thing for us. Showing the lockdown to a guy, like getting him in a lockdown and him going, hey, dude, what the hell was that you just did to my leg? And I'm like, all right, let me show you. I love that moment.
I used to tap to it because I thought like, oh, man, they're hurting me. No, it wasn't even uncomfortable. I was like, I don't know what this is doing to my ligaments, so I'm just gonna, and it doesn't feel good. So, but now it's like I know that it's not hurting anything.
Yeah. So there's that little hack at the end where I could take, you take your feet and you kind of twist the ankle a little bit, especially on a newer guy that doesn't know. Like, okay, I'm not gonna break your ankle, but it's gonna hurt a little bit more.
I've gotten people to tap to lockdown, and then I'll be like, hey, that's not a submission. It just hurts really bad. And then I immediately just tell them, look, just do a body lock on me and just push all your weight down towards my ankle, and then I'll let go because it's going to hurt me.
I got a little tip for Jits for Life. If, especially, he's talking about like longevity. One of the things that I did early on was I just went on YouTube and searched sneaky BJJ submissions. Yes. I love giving that tip. Because especially when you have somebody that's like beating up on you, they're like wrist locks and little like the Estima lock. Like there's just little things that you could probably get on somebody. Like maybe not the Estima, but
not that one,
like
dude.
like even like a baseball bat choke, somebody that passes you really aggressively, and you could just get keep on going, and then you're doing a baseball. I like staying on my back to do the baseball bat. Like I come transition under them.
You give away the back.
I don't like to give away the back, so I don't really do the sweep. I'll stay under them.
Yeah,
but. Go on YouTube and search that. It was like one of the things that helped me out so much in the beginning because I had a 400-pound training partner at my first gym, and my coach was like 260.
Right?
No, I wasn't a Popovich.
Oh, you weren't?
No, I was at a small gym.
Okay.
That's junior.
Okay.
And then I had my coach who was a black belt who was like 260 at the time. So it was just like, man, I need to learn some little hacks to like get these guys off of me. And sometimes you'd get stuck under a big guy, and it's like, all right, well, here's my way out to do this like little shitty like wrist lock or something from the bottom to save yourself, so that's what helped me in the beginning. All right, so our next question, I think you might train with this guy. I think I saw a picture of him at your gym. Saliev 1114. Why did you start Epic Roll? We talked about that a little bit, but what motivates you is the interesting part of the question that I liked.
So what motivates me is growing my products and business to a point where I have the forum and opportunity to have a bigger voice and inspire other entrepreneurs and people to kind of go and take risks and pursue these companies. Because there's some key people in my life, from authors, certain books, mentors, that all played a pretty integral role in helping me develop my skills, evolve my businesses, and sort of dream big. And so to me, life, when you can influence other people and have a bigger effect than just what's going on with you, that's like such a gift, right, in life, to have the opportunity to do that. But I also recognize that you have to reach a certain level of success within business to get the opportunity to have the forum to where people will listen to you and and take what you have to say seriously. So really the journey that I've been on through these companies and the ups and downs and all the failures and everything that came along with it, to me, I hope to put out a book one day kind of documenting all of these that can be used to inspire other people, so that they can read that and go that, this is just like, I'm just some random guy. I'm nothing special. I'm just a guy who, like, I recognize that the majority of these successful people that I read about or listened to on podcasts, it wasn't necessarily that they were the most, they were the smartest people in the room. They were the people that persevered, that were just willing to work hard enough to keep going and didn't quit. And they eventually accomplished their goals. So I committed to that mindset with these. And so that, that really is, I think, my ultimate goal is to grow these so that I can try to, inspire other people to do the same. What
would the title of that book be?
So I have a few that what's interesting about book titles is Tim Ferriss talks about this a lot, is you have to have like a title and then like a subtitle and then something else, so you can have like my life, like my life is interesting, and then like the story and chronicles of whatever. So you have to have a few of those. So I'm the type of person that when I'm trying to come up with something creative or trying to come to some sort of conclusion, I'll meditate. I'll try to be very mindful. I'll try to do a lot of things and just let things kind of come to me organically, and jot it down and then sort of play off of that. So I feel like that's one of those things that when it happens, that name will kind of come to me. And
I'll share mine with you. How not to run a business. Nobody taught me how to do any of the things that I'm doing. I mean, I was lucky enough to surround myself with really smart people like Bo. We worked together doing marketing way back before we did the podcast together. We have a friend of ours, Scott. Like, everybody had their kind of thing. And I was the sales guy. Scott knew how to run a business better, and Bo knew the creative side. So just surrounding myself with a lot of people. But like, I don't think each one of us didn't know how to do everything. So it was like, I really had to make a lot of mistakes to even the podcast. Like Rogan was like the only podcast I listened to. And then I'm like, and I didn't do it because of Rogan. We did it because it was like, hey, wow, we have these really cool conversations when we get together. And the guys that I used to train with were just like, we'd be like, we got to record this, man. Dude, this is great.
This is just fun.
Yeah,
this is fun.
It was. You hope that when you start something, it's going to work. But even if it didn't, it was just like so much fun to get together and to do this thing. And it was like, oh wow, people are actually listening to this, and we're getting feedback, and people are commenting. It was like, holy shit! I always look at Bo. I was like, oh man, I think we have something here. We got to keep on going with this.
You got to clean up these cables.
But I made I made so many mistakes that would really be the title of my book. It's like how not to run a business.
That's awesome. You mentioned earlier, you said you were talking about the laws of attraction, and that has that been a big part of your belief system or life?
Yeah. So I I was working out of my house. When I opened up the first business that I started, where Bo and I were working together. We worked together on a TV show, but we worked for somebody else. I left and I started messaging all these people that I knew, and I said, "Hey, look, I just left my job. I'm looking to figure something out." Bo was on that short list, and he was immediately like, "Dude, you sell, I'll do the creative. Let's do this." I had a website within a couple of weeks. He built everything, did the logo, and all of a sudden I had this business, and we were just like selling business cards for like $99 on Facebook and like back when you could like you could spam like from pages and like send out emails and stuff. So it just grew, but I wound up having 2 people coming to my house, working in my living room, doing sales with me. And the girl was trying to recruit me into this, like, it felt like this cult that she was a part of.
Nice.
And the basis of it was The Secret. But it was like one of these kind of multi-level marketing things, like come in and then you got to buy these courses and things like that. She gave me, I would just constantly, like, to the point where I was like going to fire her because she would ask me every day, like, she'd hear me talk and say, and she's like, you got to come. And like, it was her job, multi-level marketing. You got to bring people in, right? So if you don't bring people in, you're not holding up your end of the bargain. She gave me the 1-hour CD of The Secret, and I watched it.
It was an hour long.
Changed my fucking life. 1 hour changed my life. I didn't read the book for like another 2 years. Just the video. Just the DVD changed my life. And then, but again, I was working with Bo, and then, Bo was kind of a believer in those same things. And we had, kind of, we would talk about it a lot.
So
and,
I ended up, can you hear me?
Yeah.
So when we ended up in Vegas where we met, ultimately, I ended up in Vegas.
Louder.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Because, or actually, the secret, the whole secret thing came as a result of that first trip to Vegas, where we met.
Yeah,
you remember Fireball Tim?
Yeah, he kind of put you onto it.
Yeah,
it was this guy that did like custom cars for movies.
Yeah, so
okay,
it's badass.
And so, and I'm gonna email.
I didn't know you guys ran this far back.
I'm gonna tell him that he comes up in this episode.
We worked on an ES. It was we worked for a production company that produced a TV show that ran on ESPN.
I didn't know you guys ran
for
this
1
far
year.
back, bro.
That's how far
this
back
is
we
awesome.
go.
So I had invited him to come out because we have a mutual friend, and that producer was like, get somebody to come out if you can, and name only or whatever. So he was like, yeah, I'll bring out my shit. After that whole thing happened, it wasn't after. It was actually when I made the first phone call to him and introduced myself as a friend of this mutual friend. And we ended up talking for an hour and a half. And most of that was him trying to introduce this concept of The Secret because he said, I hear something in the way you talk. He wasn't trying to sell me anything. Wasn't like MLM
the girl trying to get me into the cult.
Nothing like that.
If I would have really understood it, or she would have given me that in the beginning, I still was so anti multi-level marketing. And that's what it felt like. It was like, you got to buy in and buy these courses and do this thing. And I'm just like, sweetheart, it's never going to happen.
It was really cool because after all that happened, it set in motion a whole series of events that were like what I call
that led us here.
Spooky. that I call spooky moments. There's no way anybody could have set them up. There's no way you can't see into the future and know and be able to manipulate circumstances. You know what I mean? So and it just completely altered not just the course of my life, but the course of my thinking, my approach to everything, my outlook.
Yeah, Matt, I mean, to answer your question, Matt, like it affected the both of us, and we talked about it a lot. But yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for that, I was the guy that would walk around saying, oh, woe is me. The world is against, like, not the world is against me, but like, oh, why does everything bad happen to me? I started that company. We worked on that show. I left that show. I got into a DUI. I got into an accident. I was coming home from a friend's wedding. I didn't want to crash at his house. They did like a local thing. I didn't want to crash, which I always did. Always like designate a driver, go to his house, crash. But they had the whole family staying there because they had just gotten married, all this stuff. So long story short is I somehow kept my keys and drove home, got into a car accident. And so now I can't drive, license suspended. This is all happening. I'm starting this business at my house. And I was that guy that they talked about that was always talking about, like, why does all the bad shit happen to me? Now I'm the opposite. That bad thing happened to protect me. Like if I'm late because the universe is taking care of me and I'm going to miss an accident on the road, or I'm not going to be that third car in that accident. That's the way my mindset is now. Everything happens for a reason. And I believe I'm a good person. And because I'm a good person, if I do the right things, the universe is going to take care of me.
You're behaving like a good person.
Yeah. And I believe, and I do believe that we're all connected in that way. And, you know, it's why that video at that moment changed my life and the way that I think forever.
It seems like you guys took like all the good parts out of that, because like I'm a little bit younger than both you guys, and like when that came out, that was like before like the international sign of I think you're fucking lying is I'm gonna pull out my phone after you say something and I'm gonna look it up right away. But back then, like you could just lie to people. And then they had nothing like they had to use the Dewey Decibel system to go figure out if you were lying or not.
But a keen intuition can tell.
No, of course, yeah, but it takes a while to gain that level of being that refined to get your BS meter. You know, you have to get burned a lot. You have to be an adult. You have to like understand human behavior. There's a lot of psychology involved in this type of stuff, but it seems like you guys like skated away with the good parts.
Yeah,
because that secret is bullshit. In my personal opinion.
Oh, I could tell you.
No, man,
I
don't agree.
No, the good parts are correct. You guys took the good parts.
Oh yeah. I mean,
but like the whole Cutco, let me sell you this so you could sell that.
There's definitely. I tell people I have bought that. So Matt, I watched that video. I didn't even, and I wound up listening to the audiobook years later. And I started to send that book or the video to people. Like when somebody would call me, like an old friend having a problem, I'd be like, will you read a book, or are you more visual and just want to watch a video? Because I've got something for you.
Yeah.
And they would pick it and I would just send it to them. I would just send it through Amazon, send it out to them. And I would tell them this: look, don't take everything so literally when you're looking at this. Take what, just like, like Bruce Lee, take what works for you and leave behind what doesn't, but just think of the overall concept here and understand what you're putting out into the universe, and then start to look at yourself as to why you're getting certain things back. Okay. I've had friends that were alcoholics. I'm not saying I saved them or anything, but I've sent it to people that were alcoholics, or family members were sick, or were just like me. It was just like every time something bad happened, it was like, oh, it's the world that's against me. Like, this is happening. Why is this happening?
For sure.
I felt like I was a good person, and I probably wasn't. It made me a better person, and I definitely I carry those things over to and I'll listen to that audiobook every once in a while, every couple of years, just to remind me. And you're not in Matt. Are you from that, cut from that cloth? Are you a fan of that book and of those teachings?
Yeah, 100%. It was introduced to me through a friend of mine, like in 2009, and I think what was interesting about it, because I've had a lot of debates. Like a lot of people think that it's very woo-woo, right? This notion of manifestation and visualization and laws of attraction, all this. But there's actually now a lot of science, because of technology, that explains why these things are like have a cause and effect. For example, there's a book called The Source by this woman named Dr. Tara Swart, and she was a neuroscientist, or is a neuroscientist, and in her book she discusses the laws of attraction, but the neuroscience behind what actually happens when your brain is visualizing positive things and thoughts, and how you're thinking and what that actually does. So when you think about it, it's a happier way to live, because to wake up every day cynical, or to think that nothing good is ever going to happen, where do you derive the motivation for life? Through those feelings. So visualization, vision boards, things that are, to me, these are all, every day I put a lot of effort into protecting my mindset. So I try to, like positive in, positive out kind of a thing. If you're watching a bunch of garbage, it's going to make you feel a certain way. It's the same thing when you meet somebody. You can get a vibe of their energy. There's nothing tangible, but you can feel whether that person's reserved, or they're pissed, or they're nice, or they're, you gravitate to them.
Intuition.
That's a real thing.
And Miguel said that before with you're rolling with somebody and you can feel it, like they're having a bad day, or that person that you roll with all the time. You know how it feels.
It's data. I mean, you just we're. I mean, look at us. We have forward-facing eyes.
Intuition.
Yeah, exactly. Intuition is a real thing, but it's at a technical level. I know he's talking about neuroscience and a lot of chemical reactions that are happening up. My sister's like a brain scientist, so like she lets me hear it, but like you have so many. If you're paying attention, you have all these data points that you go by. And then you end up building this Rolodex. Yeah. And it's just like jiu-jitsu, I feel like. It's like you start building all these moves that you could immediately get a feel for somebody or even a situation. You're reading the room,
Go ahead, Matt. I apologize for interrupting you, but go ahead.
I agree.
Please.
What in short, what I say is I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think it really helps. As I said, getting up and really being clear on your vision and where you want to go. I think people have a hard time, like by setting big goals. I think sometimes it comes off as something we're not supposed to do, like this weird relationship people have with money or success or goals, as if like we should be modest. It's bad to dream big. It's bad to want more. It's like bad. And it's kind of like that, shoot for the stars, hit the moon sort of a philosophy. So in general, but going back to the laws of attraction, I feel like on a molecular level, we are energy. I mean, this is what we are existing of. So like attracting like, I mean, there is science behind this stuff now. And if anything, that mindset of positivity, of goals and manifestation is going to put you in a more susceptible mindset for opportunities, because as a sheltered, closed off, angry, bitter person, that energy is going to be put out in the world and people are going to vibe off of that. And do you think somebody that wants to discuss business or maybe an opportunity or something with a person like that? Mm-mm. Probably not. So really there's so many benefits to it. And when you read Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich and you watch The Secret and you listen to this, it's very easy for you to tell yourself it's bullshit and just say, oh, this is woo woo and it doesn't really exist. And that's fine. But I can tell you for sure that at my point in my life, I have so many tangible examples of how this worked, about how things manifested, about how, intention played a huge role in certain things playing out and happening. So I no longer have to buy into it. It's just like becomes a kind of a way of life. And it helps me stay as the person representing myself that I want to when I'm interacting with people. I'm not giving you the best version of me if I'm in this bad spot and bad mindset and I'm in, doom and gloom. So
I roll out of bed in the morning, almost like every morning, including the weekends, whether I'm going to work or it's like, hey, days off, I roll out and I'm like, yeah, let's get the day started. Open the blinds, let the light in. And my wife's like, oh my God, you're such a fucking morning person. And I'm like, yeah, like have a heart attack and understand how blessed you are to even wake up in the fucking morning. And again, I felt like this before that anyway, but I wake up in the morning like, all right, opportunity to fucking make something happen, to make the podcast better, to make my life better, to make the house better, to make the family better, to do something. She's a roll out of the bed and go to the 9 to 5, and she likes that grind. And I'm always trying to we live in fucking paradise. It is winter. Like we're wearing long sleeve shirts and sweaters, and it's like it was 70 degrees when I left the house, and I wore a thick Nike sweater to get in the car. Yeah. Like, ooh, it's getting chilly, So like I do get out of bed, and I even do it more so now to like try to like motivate her. Like, come on, no, it's a great day. Like you live in paradise. Look out the window. There are palm trees in your fucking backyard. Who else gets to say that? There are people
water.
that are miserable and going, like fucking water. There's a lake in the background. Like, come on, we've got
gratitude
got it.
Gratitude is huge. That's like a lot.
Happy.
You hear that from a lot of people, and I always kind of wondered about that when they said gratitude, that changed my life, being grateful. And I was like, I just don't get it. So I started this habit where every day when I woke up, before I got out of bed, the first thing I would do in the morning I would think of like 5 things that I was grateful for. And I would really like feel those emotions for a minute. And it could be arbitrary. It could be, just waking up. But the point is that it was positioning me in a mindset of positivity and of gratitude that helped me start my day better. It helped me be more motivated throughout the day. It helped me be a better person for others. And it keeps things in perspective. It's very easy to detach from that and to complain and whine and everybody's bitching online and everybody's got a problem and their feelings are hurt. But when you stay in a mindset of gratitude, it does change your life
for sure.
Completely. 100%.
I have the girl that gave me this is why I watched the video. The girl that gave me that the DVD. She told me this story and I was like, all right, I'll watch it. She said her sister always wanted a Mustang. And her sister, this is before she was even involved with this, but she was giving me an example. She says, my sister always wanted a Mustang. All she would do is say, when I grow up, I'm going to have a Mustang. When I grow up, I'm going to have a Mustang. And even the family would be like, yeah, she thinks she's going to have a Mustang one day. So one day, a neighbor is actually selling a Mustang and heard that she wanted a Mustang because she had always put it out there. This is like a simpler form. This is like the non-scientific. This is for somebody who's just like, oh, really? Oh, we're all connected, right?
Serendipitous.
She put it out there, and that neighbor sold her their Mustang at a discount when she was 18. And she goes, now, it wasn't like something super she put it out there. Somebody heard. And they said, hey, look, I got this Mustang. I'm not using it.
Jenny, you want a Mustang?
Yeah, you want a Mustang. So now, like, take that on if you take that and then, like, kind of blow that up a little bit and just think about if you put out good vibes, you're going to surround yourself. I just don't surround myself. I've cut out negative people in my life. If somebody
100%.
Somebody's the guy, like the old me, I remember when people were calling me around the time that I had the accident. Hey, how you doing? Oh, man, life sucks. It's fucking hard. I can't get here. I can't get there. Those people stopped calling me. I fucking felt it. I saw it. I'm just like, wow, people just aren't even calling me anymore. But if I would have been like, you know what? I'm going to make the most out of this. I started this company. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. It would have been different. People stopped reaching out to me.
They would have said, let me know how I can help you out.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And I felt that. But that was the story. She told me that story. And I was just like, all right, makes sense. I'll watch it. And again, it changed my life. So I've been just a believer. Yeah. And I don't, and it's been a long time since I've talked about it like this. But I remember it all the time. And to the point where, like, it's funny because, like, my wife won't roll out of bed in the morning and be like, oh, yeah, great day. But she'll definitely catch me. She'll be like, don't put that out. Like, I'll say something negative. She's like, don't put that out in the universe.
Right.
No. Don't say that. Don't put that out there. And now, like, so she says that, and she has read the book, but she doesn't, like, ascribe to it as kind of like the way I do.
I also want to touch on one thing because some people just don't know stuff because they don't get to hear it. Mm-hmm. Right. And so, like, when you said about, like, you're essentially talking about the American Protestant work ethic, people don't want to, like, they want to stay humble and don't want to dream big and don't want to achieve these giant things because they've been, like, conditioned to be like, okay, just 9 to 5, blue collar, whatever. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you really like. Okay. But what I'm saying is, like, I'm the type of dude that if you let my foot in the door, I'm letting all my friends in. Right. So it's like, I want to be successful. And success to me means something different than what it means to somebody else. I'm already, like, I'm super ecstatic that I'm at where I'm at right now. I'm, like, just happy, but I want to get more so I could do more. Like, that's why I want more. Like, I want to be
abundance versus scarcity. It's
but to give, like, I want to like give, like for me, like, I don't really share this, but, like, I want a grocery store. I want to own a grocery store because I feel like I could do that shit right.
Okay.
It's the most random fucking thing I've ever heard in my life. I love it.
I
love it.
Like,
it's so great. Like, it's so specific. Like, you should.
No, like a grocery store. Like, so this is my idea, right? Like, my idea is to have a community grocery store in a community. And if you live within the boundaries of that community, you get to shop at that store at a certain price. And it's sustainable, whatever. I'll try to make it work as best as I can. But if you want to be from outside of the community, you have to pay more to shop at that store.
Okay.
Right.
Now, do you have to wear a mask or be vaccinated to shop at this store?
Nah, but I don't care about that kind of stuff.
That sounds like basically Instacart in a way. Like, if you go to Publix and shop, it's one price, and if you shop on Instacart, it's more expensive.
I don't know.
It's kinda
no, but what I'm just saying, I'm just, like, trying to keep it so it's sustainable within a community, and then encourage that community to care about that store because it's their store. Okay. And then if you have a whole bunch of, like, little ones, then now you could have smaller farms supporting that smaller store that's within that smaller section. Like, everything's just, it's big, but it's all just micro. Like, it's like, okay, this is this place's place.
That's called the Old West.
Yeah. Okay. I want the Old West. That's what you know. What? That's the name of the store, bro. Old West store.
We're 2 hours in, so I want to ask these last two questions. I want to make sure. And you mentioned, I know that you put it in your story. What were you going to give away for some of these guys?
Yeah, we're doing an Epic Roll rash guard to throw in with the CBD bottles, right?
Okay. Yeah, we either do CBD. We let them choose CBD because not everybody wants a CBD, or they might be really young and their parent, they're just not going to take the CBD. So I let them choose a bottle of Fight Back CBD or a T-shirt, a podcast T-shirt. How many? I got 4 questions. I don't want to push you to give away 4 rash guards, but you tell me what you want to do.
Yeah. Let's do it. Let's get fucking crazy.
Okay. All right, cool. So, so we've got 2 more. So let's get to these. This is a long one. I'm going to try to do my best. Sometimes I've skimmed these, and sometimes the way that they write is not very readable. You know how people write with like text and online. Okay. So this is Bill Anderson Jr., 83. Should a lower belt, white or blue, try to focus on one technique for an extended period of time during live rolls, or just try a wide range of techniques in whatever position they find themselves in? For example, would it make sense to let your partner sweep and pass the side control easily just to get reps in with side control techniques, or limit yourself to only one submission type to really improve that one technique? Did that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we can unpack that. Anything you practice in jiu-jitsu in repetition, you're going to get more proficient. So I think when you're a white belt, it's such a huge undertaking to look at all the different techniques, and especially through the evolution of jiu-jitsu and no-gi and all the leg game and all the different guards. There's a lot. I think an undervalued maybe aspect of jiu-jitsu for people starting is guard retention and guard passing. So if somebody was going to focus on something on the side with it coincides with maybe what they're doing in class, those are really good, positional spots and things to work through, because they're such huge parts of the game, right? Like guard retention and passing somebody's guard is huge. There's all kinds of, once you get past that, proper body control, proper positioning, grips, play into that. But those initial passing, I think a lot of people struggle. So I'm a big fan of training in modalities where you focus on a specific system for an extended period of time, say, 2 to 3 months. So we do this at our academy where we might be working like the system from the back for like 2 months, say. And on that, we're going through all the entries, all the defenses, all the leg attacks that lead from there, everything about it. So as we leave that system and then go into, say, another system like a front headlock or maybe a leg system, we're much more proficient because we have a really good understanding of that. It's not like I started training jiu-jitsu where we would come in and go, we're doing triangles today, then we're doing scissor sweeps tomorrow, then we're doing de la riva, then we're doing ankle locks. It's like there's no, I mean, it's a lot of schools. There's no connecting point. So just on a basic fundamental level for learning stuff, it doesn't make sense. It becomes, very daunting when you're like, well, when am I going to use this? And then how am I going to use it? Rather than working in a system where you're like, hey, here's how we got here. Here's what people usually do when they're here. Here's the defenses from here. Here are your options. The fundamental understanding of jiu-jitsu positions and body control really are big connector points for people to understand it a little bit better and advance. So if you want to get better at jiu-jitsu, don't look at these things as moves and very linearly. Look at what happens in the person's body that allows these positions to occur. Because when you pass somebody's guard, there's certain positions with their feet and how whether they're sitting or they're supine or they're on one side, and there's very specific steps that need to occur to pass somebody's guard with that. So when you understand those principles of jiu-jitsu, it helps make sense of it, I would say. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the more you understand that, it's not like I'm just doing a cross collar choke, or I'm just doing, what am I doing to get there? Why is it working? What's going on posture wise? Which again, tons of information, right? Like to digest as I think that's why you have to just go with it in the beginning and stop trying to learn everything in one day and just accept the process, right? Become a lifelong student of jiu-jitsu, and then you'll find yourself not so frustrated in those positions, I think.
Yeah, and just showing up. I mean, that's a big part of it. Just go. You're going to learn something new. I don't know that I was ever so concerned. My first gym was like he had the Jiu-Jitsu University book, and I would come to practice, and he'd be looking through the book and like pick something that we were going to do that day. There was no real like methodology. There was nothing that was linear. It's like, okay, we're doing this today because we're going to do this tomorrow. It was just like, let's do this cool move. And it was such a small gym that it was just kind of like sometimes we'd be like, hey, coach, how do you do this? And that would be the move that we would do that day. So there was no method to the madness. Now I'm in a school where it's just like 1 month is we're doing this is back takes. This is, passing. We've been doing what actually hurt my leg was we were doing a lot of passing, both passing the guard and guard retention. So I actually hurt my leg with that. So like that was the January. That was the entire month of January. So I like learning like that now. We didn't always do it like that. It was sometimes like a week.
He changed it up right around when I was there for about a year.
Yeah. I think part of that too was
I'm gonna do this for a whole month.
There was a recognition of like most guys, the adults classes at least were 4 days a week. It's Monday through Thursday. Thursday he cut the class out because people weren't showing up on a Friday night. And then it was just like, well, somebody's only training twice a week. And then I'm showing the move for the week. Okay, well, not everybody's getting to digest that. And then I think that's kind of what led him to extending it. Just like, I need 1 month to get somebody that might come once or twice a week, or twice this week, once the next week, doesn't come to open mats because, they just they don't want to train on the weekend, family, this and that. And it went to a month. And now, like, even I see my game changing, even on the basic stuff, just because I'm like, oh, we're still doing that. Cool.
Yeah.
And you're learning. And then I, go home and, grab the dummy or watch a video and go, oh, and then get those little.
He's also really good about screaming at you while you're rolling.
All right, so let's next question, and I love this one. This one came in after you posted when you said you're going to give away the rash guards, and I just love the name, Kickin' Reekin. Got a Reekin out there.
There you go.
Okay, question for Matt. Big fan of his designs, by the way. That's what he said. But a bigger fan of seeing his family involved in BJJ. Did he ever have trouble focusing on training while also trying to focus on being a dad when his kids were younger? And parentheses, infants.
Yeah, I was training the second my son was born. My first son, Tyler, was born, and that continued on through, my second son, and has been a part of my life ever since I started. So it is a challenge, and I think you're going to have different seasons of life where you're able to train a lot, and then sometimes you can maybe only make it once a week, or you get injured, and so time management in business, in life, and everything is super important. I had a really hard time in the past working corporate jobs where I got very caught up in the money that I was making, and did not have a balance in my life. So it was work, and then miss out on opportunities with family, not being present in those moments when you are with family. And so I had to experience that to really look at it now and recognize that I'm on a path of trying to buy back my time. When I get to take my kids to school in the morning and pick them up and be home when they get home, and spend time with them and training with my sons and do those, that's a gift to me. So, for me, I have to compartmentalize my life so that I can not miss out on that time with family. It goes very quickly, time flies, like with your kids grow up so quick. And
yeah, man.
Sounds cliche, but it's so true. So balance is hugely important, and I think you just have to be willing to accept the ebbs and flows of the seasons of life and what they give you and how often you can train. But hopefully you're in a supportive system. It would be very tough if my wife fought me tooth and nail about doing jiu-jitsu, or if you have somebody that's totally against it or doesn't support it. That obviously makes it very challenging. So I was fortunate to have a lot lot of support systems around.
Hey, Matt, just go ahead and give yourself a rash guard for answering the question. So one goes to you.
Well, I'm asking I always ask a lot of questions of guests on like their relationships, and like, because it was difficult in the beginning. I trained when I was first with my wife. I started jiu-jitsu after we were together. It was through a family friend who opened the gym.
You guys were dating.
We were dating.
It's not even.
Yeah, we weren't even living. I don't even think we were living together yet. We were living together pretty, like, I think right at the beginning, and she did not understand how I was going to train 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, and an open mat on Saturday, 6 days a week, hours. And then a lot of that, sometimes I'd have to do maybe 3 or 4 hours because the coach wasn't showing up. And as a white and a blue belt, I was opening the gym, maybe with his wife, maybe on my own, doing the kids' classes. Maybe he showed up for the adults. Maybe he didn't show up at all. Small gym, handful of people, but I was like the highest white belt, or, like I was the ranking, student. So she couldn't understand it. In the beginning, it was a battle. It was like, I don't understand why you got to be, and she hated jiu-jitsu. And I know she still doesn't love it, but she accepts it. And she really started to accept it a little bit more when she found something she loved, which was She likes going to kickboxing. I jokingly call it dance fighting just to piss her off. But she goes to, one of those kind of like, it's called raw kickboxing, but that I Love Kickboxing, that's the big one, right?
Dude,
that's a national chain. But she found something that she loved. And then that's when she understood it and she backed off. But I also stopped training. When I went to the gym that I'm in now, there wasn't a beginners and an advanced, and there was no Muay Thai, which I was also doing. So it was just like 1 hour classes, went to 3 or 4 days a week. And it was more, okay, this makes sense. You're going 2 hours a day every fucking day. Come on.
I just want to say that the current UFC champion, Juliana Pena, started doing cardio kickboxing.
Yeah.
That's how her MMA career started. And also, oh God, I can't believe I'm forgetting her name. Angela, what? I forget her name.
Angela Hill.
Angie Hill started with like Overkill. Yeah, she started doing Muay Thai, like the fun classes. Like
I call it dance fighting.
Now she's a killer.
It's like I tell her Zumba with gloves.
Yeah,
just to make her mad. I tease her.
Yeah.
Shout out to my buddy Brian Butler from Sucker Punch, who actually manages Angela and a few other fighters.
Oh, very cool.
Okay, dude, I love Angie Hill. By the way,
you know what? It's funny.
So
because
funny.
I love the sport, and I love when like Dominic Cruz didn't like him as a fighter, love him as a commentator.
Yeah, really.
Angie Hill, like her as a fighter. I love her as a commentator. She's really, really good. When she gets out there and she's talking, that knowledge comes across. It's like great to have. I hate when like ESPN is putting their football guys on MMA and they don't know shit.
Oh my god,
yeah.
It's fucking. Who's that guy out? Who's what's his name? Everybody rips this guy. What's his name? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I can't think of his name.
I'm not
but
an ESPN guy.
It's because we don't.
Stephen A. Smith.
Oh, when they released that video of him like punching it was like he was like
he's
training
like
to fight a 3-year-old.
He's throwing like the punch down.
Some people are great.
That.
Kenny Florian's a great. He's a great commentator. Back in the day when he was fighting, like when I was getting to train with him, he was fighting Roger Huerta, I believe, and I remember talking to him about the strategy. He had a plan to exit out of the UFC even back then and transition into commentating and doing these other things because he kind of knew he's a very smart guy, but he knew that this was a very rough road like MMA. Yeah. I mean, he's like told me stories of his lights being turned off and like not having money and this and that. And he's obviously very articulate and really, intelligent. So his commentating transition was great. It's nice to see that with some of those fighters.
DC, it was an amazing transition.
Yeah. DC, but like his commentating is rough. It's still rough.
No. You need to listen.
In the beginning,
he has just a show on ESPN Plus, where he just like literally breaks down fights.
Yeah,
and the dude like does such an amazing job. He vibes well when he's like with Joe Rogan and John Anik, and they're all doing it all together. That is definitely like I feel like when they do those main card events, where Joe Rogan does show up, they always put them three together because they have that chemistry and it works really well.
Yeah.
But man, DC was a good transition. Michael Bisping is kind of kooky, like I've learned to like his commentary.
You know who I love? And I love to watch him on ESPN, and I love to watch his stuff that he puts on YouTube. Chael Sonnen. Chael Sonnen is fucking amazing.
Has always been the best.
Like Dominic Cruz, hated him as a fighter, always rooted against him, love him as a commentator, and I'll listen to anything he's got to say. But he played the heel.
So did Chael Sonnen.
Chael Sonnen, same thing. I always hate the big mouth. So
he's the original shit talker, bro.
Yeah, he was. He turned that into a science. And I love to watch his stuff, and he's an amazing commentator. I was when they fired him, when they found out like he was on TRT or whatever, but it was about like he was trying to get his wife pregnant and whatever. He was like on like legitimately on it to get his wife pregnant. Yeah. I believe that was the story at the time, and like for him to leave, it was like, oh man, he was so great as a commentator. Mm-hmm. And then he gets a job at ESPN, and then UFC comes back and makes a deal with ESPN. They're like, he's just there like. Gotcha, bitches. I'm
Yeah.
back. Whether you like it or not, I'm here. You know?
Grappling Underground.
Yeah,
He's good on that. Submission Underground. Yeah,
is his
whatever.
thing.
And then
well,
he's
that's his organization.
Yeah,
right?
and then he's also when he does it with what's the dude from Canada?
He did it with Ariel Hawani, but now Ariel's gone, right? Ariel.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there, but that show was great. I rang the bell on that one.
Very cool.
Alerts for sure.
All right, let's do our speed round. I'm gonna let you hit these speed round
All right.
questions since I did everything else and I didn't share the outline with you.
It's all good. Gi or no gi?
So Matt, so this is this is our speed
dumb.
round.
He's not dumb.
This is our speed. Well, I like to say this is our speed round questions. You could elaborate if you'd like, but we got a list of like 6 or 7 questions for you.
Gi or no gi?
I love the tradition of the gi, and I appreciate the evolution of no gi.
Give yourself another rash guard.
Now,
takedown or pull
hold on. The fingers. Let's go back to the fingers. That's all about the gi grip, man. Those fingers are.
It is. I love them both. I've competed both, and I'm going to be competing this year, both gi and no gi. So I really do. That's the most true answer I could give is that I really appreciate the tradition of the gi within jiu-jitsu. Yeah. But I also embrace the evolution of no-gi and what that brings to the table.
Remember when you were here for Cody Steele, right?
Yeah.
Cody Steele, he was just like, he was talking about the fingers and now he's doing MMA. He's just like, when they pull on that gi, I just let it go. He's like, you want it more than me. Take it back. Go ahead. He's like, I don't want, he just doesn't want those fingers. Go ahead.
I'm the same way. Takedown or pull guard?
Oh, takedown.
All right. Favorite competitor to watch?
Are you like a fan? Are you a fan? Do you watch like the flow grappling stuff? And,
of course. Yeah. I mean, I'm a huge Mason Fowler fan. I'm a huge Gordon Ryan fan. That, as cliche as that sounds, is like, I don't know how you could not be a fan of a guy with that.
He's that
again. I like watching him. I don't love all the BS. So
Chick-fil-A.
I just try not to like.
I mean, I'm not celebrating Christmas with him, but I certainly respect what he's doing on the mats.
I describe.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
agree 100%.
Chick-fil-A is the best description I've heard. I support the product, not the message.
Yeah.
All right.
Go ahead,
Marcelo Garcia. I mean, that's
a given.
Yeah. So, I'm a fan of
Marcelo. Love the North South, man. He's the only BJJ Fanatics video that I've ever bought.
Really?
For the North
He's
South,
awesome.
that was besides the lockdown, the North South was my go-to submission, and I'm like, I felt. Number one, I wanted to know more, and I was like, I've learned so much from his free stuff. I'm buying it. I'm just gonna buy it.
It's great.
If any Marcel Garcia video on my YouTube feed in my account has a red bar across it.
You watched them all?
Yeah, I've watched them all, bro.
He has and I think Josh Waitskin is under him. He was that chess prodigy that wrote the book called, I think it was called The Art of War. No, is that Sun Tzu?
No, that's Sun Tzu, yeah.
It's a very similar title to the book, but I think he was one of his first American black belts. But he's like they did the movie The Searching for Bobby Fischer, after him. And he's amazing. I mean, Marcel he's the man too.
Yeah.
He just seems like a nice guy. What is your ultimate goal in the world of jiu-jitsu?
I think to grow Epic Roll to be a major brand with some of the top other brands that are out there, and to be one of the more recognizable jiu-jitsu brands in the world.
All right, that's good, man. What's the craziest thing that's ever happened on the mats or in competition? And it doesn't have to be something that happened to you. It could just be like something crazy
craziest
that
thing
you
you've
saw,
seen.
or something that happened to you. Whatever you want.
Man, on the mats,
or at a competition, which would be on a mat. Or something that somebody did while they were on top of you because your name is Matt.
I mean, I've been pretty fortunate. We had a seminar situation with Tom DeBlass a few years ago, and a gentleman had a pretty sizable breakdown during the seminar in front of everybody that. I'll give you guys,
like you freaked out
on the details on that because there's but it was
emotional breakdown.
Like we ended up with like cops and fire trucks and ambulances.
Yeah. Oh wow!
All kinds of like it was nuts. So that was probably the craziest situation.
I'm still waiting for a poop story.
I
haven't gotten one yet.
I don't have one.
God,
Next.
Okay. If you could go back in time and talk to yourself before you first got on the mats, what would you tell yourself?
I would have told myself just to train smarter. I think I didn't do my body any good by the way that I started training, where I would go home and I couldn't turn my neck, and I, constantly getting choked out and hurting myself left and right and train. So I think I probably would have put a stronger emphasis on the way in which I trained and, for longevity. I mean, I'm still upright, like I'm 41 and I'm not in terrible shape and I'm still on the mats 4 days a week. So it's not like I made some catastrophic mistakes, but I think I probably could have
a little
been a little bit more nurturing.
Do you try to put time in, for me, it's if I train 2 days back to back, that third day, it's going to be really fucking rough. This isn't a joke. Sometimes I'll be like, babe, you got to push me. And my wife will like take her foot and push me, help me like get up out of bed because I'm rolling over. So I really try to put a day in between. And I said before, like I'll work out. Do you do them consecutive 4 days in a row and then rest for 3, or are you putting time between those training sessions?
Usually I'm training Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. And I'm trying to get to the gym at least 2 days a week, 2 to 3 days a week. The thing is there's two things about life for me that were staples. One is that self-defense as a life skill was a non-negotiable. So it was always something that I had to refine and kind of keep in my life and for my family. And I am useless if I don't take care of my body. Like all the goals that I have, all the business I'm trying to, develop and grow, and all my goals will not happen if I'm sick, if I'm unhealthy, if I don't take care of myself. So right. I really try to have a balance with that. And so that I can keep doing what I'm doing.
All right. Besides what you just said, do you have any regrets as it relates to the martial arts journey?
I wish I would have known about jiu-jitsu earlier. Like I'm glad for my journey. It was, everybody's is specific to them. But I look at kids that I've taught jiu-jitsu when they're young and they do it. Like my son, when, I was worried about him with middle school because middle school kids are assholes, right? Like that's just where
right.
you're like, oh, these kids suck and they're mean. And I remember going through it and I, not having a lot of confidence in that. And he just skated through, not because he's arrogant at all, but there's a level of confidence that you tend to exude when you train jiu-jitsu and when you just have a good basis of self-defense and your own, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
I call it
especially
the quiet confidence that goes along with knowing how to protect yourself.
Right.
Walking into any room and not worrying about any person in there, big or small. It's quiet confidence. And as you're not an asshole, it's just there. And you're not looking for a fight. You're not there to look for a fight, but that same kid that doesn't train walks into that same room like, oh shit, there are a bunch of big guys in here.
Yeah.
What the fuck? These guys can kill me. As opposed to the guy that's trained that walks in that room and doesn't even think about them. It's not even a thought. You just walked into a room.
I got that's 3 words.
Absolutely. And when you go through and you train jiu-jitsu and you realize like how long it takes to really, get good. It's like it's a whole thing. So
yeah, you're in a perpetual state of I suck.
Yeah. I mean, but once you get it like once you're like a blue belt, you have a grasp of jiu-jitsu that is way beyond the average person. So in general, you're probably going to be better suited for, defending yourself and de-escalating situations.
I want to tell you what I tell every person who answered that question that way, Matt. Because I wish I would have found it when I was younger. But you know what? I was meant to find it when I found it. Just like you said before, you were meant to leave that gym. That it was supposed to happen like that. And now you're in a better place. If I would have started younger, I quit every sport that I ever tried. I wrestled, I quit. Did baseball, I quit. Soccer was was my thing. Even to this day, my dad's like, man, I wish you would have stuck with soccer. You were great. I quit to play football, which I quit. I wasn't disciplined. For me personally, I wasn't disciplined then to do this. I would have quit. I would have quit the first time I got hurt. Or if I blew out my knee, I would have never gone back. Like I didn't go back to karate after spraining my thumb. Like I just always found an excuse. I wasn't disciplined and I was a quitter. I had to be a grown up. It had to have happened when it happened for me to be in this position right now. So,
yeah, no, I get that. I mean, I could have very well been in the same situation where I wouldn't have seen the value in it, or I wouldn't have been so attached to it at that point in my life. I
think it found you when it was supposed to find you. You know?
It did, and now I'm very grateful that I get to share that with people that are younger, because it really can have a really great positive impact on people's lives, for sure.
I got 3 words for you. Foot sweeps, boy.
Okay.
Love them.
Next question.
All right, this is a pretty important question.
Oh, I get the last one. No, I get the last one.
You can have it.
You read all the other ones. I'll get.
It's
I'll
very important.
Oh, we're there. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. This is the big one, Matt.
There it is.
Do you or do you not wash your belt?
Man, good question. Good question. I never wash my belt.
Oh no!
Dirty belt
Matt,
washer.
Say it isn't so. Oh,
It's okay.
No.
It's okay.
Why don't you wash your belt? Is there a reason?
Because it was like when I started with like, these hardcore, like just Brazilian mindset and people, and it was just, you didn't wash your belt. And like looking back, I'm like, yeah, I probably could have washed it. I don't know why. I mean, if anything, it makes it more worn out, right? Like you would make it look like you're more of a seasoned veteran when it's,
that's the old school thinking. Like guys that did it just to make it look like they trained more.
I just buy another
then you get
belt.
Yeah.
Well, you get stripes on, right? And then when you get stripes, if you're in a place that does stripes, you wash that, it fucks up the stripes. You have to re-put those on. So yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, it's probably like the politically incorrect thing to say at this point.
No, you're
when
good.
everybody's weirded out about germs and all that kind of stuff.
No.
We won't give you too much shit because we like you. This has been fun, man.
I did, however, have a super sweaty roll the other day, and I did wash this.
So you washed your belt. That's a belt washer.
I did.
Ding,
literally
ding, ding, ding.
this week. It was the first time, and I did wash it because it was like so gross. I was like, maybe I'm gonna start. Maybe this is the moment.
Don't.
Where
I think
this was
it
the
is.
universe bringing it all together.
Wow,
full circle.
did we convert somebody?
I don't know.
I think
our first conversion.
This is the
This is
most
some growth.
influential. This is the most influential podcast in the jiu-jitsu world.
We'll get a baby pool up in this condo because we're like pretty high up, and then when you come down to Florida, we'll like baptize you or something. Like,
That's it. When people ask me like, why do you wash your belt? I'll tell you, well, it was this one podcast evening, and it just changed my life forever.
Changed my life, guys.
Hey, Matt, thank you so much. We've gone 2 hours and 40 minutes. Wow.
Oh no! Wow, this is the longest one I've been.
This is longer than the last one. That was 2.5. But Matt, thank you so much. Do you want to shout? I know we talked about some of your sponsors already. You want to shout anybody out before we let you go?
Sure. Shout out to Y&M, CBD, BJJ Box, and my homies at Killcliff, Jujitsu. Got Jujitsu, Tom DeBlass. Who else?
McDojo.
I don't know.
I know you do a lot of stuff with McDojo.
McDojo Life, man. My boy Rob.
We love McDojo.
He's got his documentary hopefully coming out soon. So I'm very excited for that.
Tell everybody where they can find you. Give them your handles real quick.
Yeah. So Instagram, Epic Roll BJJ. Same with Twitter and Facebook, Epic Roll BJJ.
There you go.
You can go to the onebottlecompany.com if you want to check out our bottle that we were talking about earlier.
Very cool.
And for any real
Website?
estate needs, mjhomesalesva.com for any real estate if anybody needs to buy, sell, or invest.
And the epicrollbjj.com, right?
epicrollbjj.com. Yes,
Perfect.
sir.
All right,
but
man.
I'm mostly on Instagram, so people can message me there.
All right, don't hang up, but we're gonna let you go. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. We'll tag you when this episode comes out, man.
Thank you guys so much.
Take
I had
care,
an awesome
man.
time.
All right.
No worries. Very cool, right?
That
That's awesome, dude, man.
I know that could have gone longer. I think.
Yeah, we're like, let's keep it under 3 hours.
Watch it.
Who do we think we are, Joe
Yeah,
Rogan?
No, just
let's do a 5-hour
watch
podcast.
it. Watch it in pieces. Roe Jogan.
Roe
Yeah, I've heard of
Jogan.
him. Joe
Is
Hogan.
that it? Well, man, all this controversy he's gone through the last couple of weeks. It's kind of weird.
COVID Joe.
Hey man,
Yeah.
He's COVID Joe.
that's water off of a duck's back. I think the way he's taking it, like that little "Hello Friends" thing that he put out on Spotify.
Did he?
Super,
What-
yeah,
what did he
super.
put out? What did he
Just a
put
little
out?
9-minute video
Oh, the video
of him being
He's gonna have a new product, Ivor Rogan.
I think that
just super honest,
you
man.
know he legitimately comes out and says, "I'm an idiot. I don't know anything. Don't listen to me. But I want to talk to these people like I'm talking to I would talk to these people." The way I would talk at a bar and have some wings and some pizza and some beer.
You can't
he's talking to
rationalize.
those
You
people.
can't rationalize with crazy people. The fact is that this cancel culture is craziness, and even those people who pushed the cancel culture initially a year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, are now like feeling that culture coming after them. And it's
It
because it's so ridiculous, dude.
Yeah.
It's a talk show.
Dude,
He's got a guest.
the president or the CEO of CNN had to resign.
We had the conversation just before we started the podcast.
We did,
we were talking about this, where just the fact that somebody shows up on someone's show and that show happens to be the most popular podcast
They try to
in the
cancel
world.
that person.
No. Just because you show up on the most popular fucking podcast in the world does not mean it's an endorsement that what you're going to say is true or right or good. You're just a fucking guest, and Rogan's a host, and you're having a conversation. It doesn't mean they agree.
And he literally always says, look, I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Don't listen to me.
I mean, that's just his humility because he's a
That's
fucking
his
smart
version.
guy. He's a smart guy. You know that.
In a way, him having a guest on like that is like him. He has the ultimate Google at his fingertips.
Yeah.
Right.
He goes, I'm not just going to Google this and read what they think. I'm going to have them on and I'm going to have them explain it to me.
Yeah,
Sure.
exactly, yeah.
And I think when people realize that, they can let go a little bit and go.
But that's any talk
Literally,
show.
somebody's telling you, don't listen to me. I'm
Yeah.
a fucking idiot. I'm talking to my friends. I'm high. I'm drinking.
Yeah, he is.
And you're gonna.
Do you know
the
how
thing
many
is,
shows-
is there a certain amount of responsibility? I'll ask this. Well, is there a certain amount of responsibility he has because there are 10 million people a month that watch his podcast?
No,
or is it
zero.
a month or is it
Zero. It's not his responsibility to be a mentor or push a bias. Or his whole concept is to be open and provide a safe space to talk about anything.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if he conflicts with his guests' opinions or whatever.
Which he has.
Yeah, of course. And he's a very smart guy.
Yeah.
You know, of course, like anybody, nobody knows everything. So he's being very humble about that whole concept.
Know the guy.
But the fact of the matter is he's a smart guy. And he understands. There's certain things that he's actually moved from the position he was in 2 years ago.
Shit, he wasn't he kind of like a flat earther?
No,
he wasn't.
not a flat earther.
No, but he kind of like was like, well, maybe there's something to this.
He was entertaining the idea. I remember that because this whole flat earth thing bothers the
moon
shit out
landing
of me.
too, right?
This whole flat earth thing bothers the shit out of me. So I've watched a lot of that with Joe. And it's not that he supports it. It's that he's saying, the fact of the matter is, until you or I can actually go into fucking space ourselves.
And you can.
We can't actually say that we know one way or the other. You can look at things and often things appear to be one way, but they're not what they seem, right?
I've actually thought about, I'm like, now that there's like, the general public can go to space. Now there's space travel, right?
Yeah.
I would love for Eddie Bravo
I think
get on a fucking rocket.
I think
like he can make that happen.
They've talked about
it.
They
can make that happen. Make it happen. What's the guy's name from Tesla?
Elon.
Come on, Elon, make that happen, right?
Yeah. He needs to get on one of those Virgin flights because that's what you get on. Yeah, you go up into the stratosphere.
And then we find out Elon is secretly practicing jujitsu.
That would be awesome.
He's a big dude, bro. He's a big man.
From our side, I mean, we know, that's why I tell you should do it too. Like people with those analytical minds, like jujitsu, like when they look at it like almost like a mathematical equation.
No, he needs to not do it because if he gets consumed by it, then he's gonna stop with the tunnels and the cars. Don't do it,
on
Elon.
Mars. Jiu-jitsu on Mars.
Elon, don't do it.
If I did jujitsu, so jujitsu is just like not something Tesla would do.
All right, let's get to our housekeeping. This is going to go 3 hours. I appreciate everybody sticking around. We love you guys.
Thank you.
Shout out to our Patreon podcast patrons, including gym sponsors Carlson Gracie, Winter Haven in Winter Haven, Florida, cgwinterhaven.com, at Carlson Gracie _Winter Haven on IG. Carlson Gracie, Broward County in North Lauderdale. That's Big J. What's up? Carlson Gracie, BrowardCounty.com, at Carlson Gracie, Broward County on IG. John Way Martial Arts in Plantation, Florida. JohnWayMartialArts.com, at John Way Martial Arts on Instagram. Our individual patrons include Jebediah Berra, Robert Walker, Frank House, Boa Athletics. You can check them out at BOA_athletics on Instagram. Jason Smiley, CJ Carroll, Mission 22, Chuck Reddoor, and Roberto Santiago. If you'd like to support the show and get a shout out just like that, you can visit patreon.com/Jiu-Jitsu Dummies. Join and you'll be automatically entered to win up to $100 in Jiu-Jitsu swag every single month. We're doing either like Fight Back CBD, teas from now, Flow and Roll's doing our teas, so a podcast tee from Flow and Roll. Sometimes we get gis and different things like that. So we're going to give you up to $100 worth of jiu-jitsu swag or the chance to win every single month. Our listeners who submitted questions are also put into that pot. So for that month, if we did that episode,
double dipping, maybe
we're able to mix them up, and they're either going to be a Patreon or a listener. Yeah, they can double dip.
That's awesome. Yeah. Who doesn't like a good double dip?
All right. So again, patreon.com/Jiu-Jitsu Dummies.
Special thanks to Fightback CBD. Go to fightbackcbd.com and check out their growing line of CBD products. Find the best solution for your CBD needs and use code JJD to get 20% off your next purchase. Visit them on Instagram too at FightbackCBD. Special thanks to George Hernandez, Claims Adjuster. Have you experienced damage to your residential or commercial property in the state of Florida from flood or fire, storms, theft and vandalism, even sinkholes, just to name a few? Don't get stressed out dealing with your insurance provider. Call George Hernandez today and let the professionals get you the most compensation possible. Visit hernandezclaims.com or call 305-712-6751 to get help now. And stay in touch with them on Instagram at Hernandez Claims.
Hey,
hit it.
Hey, man. I know the ones that are watching and listening, but spread the word, man. Add Jiu-Jitsu Dummies, on Instagram. You can find all the ways to watch, listen, support, donate to the scholarship program where we award a 1-year scholarship to veterans, first responders, amazing kids. Honestly, just anybody that's doing something extraordinary.
We really need some help in doing this. We can't do it without the donation. So you can check out the GoFundMe. If you click that link.
If we get more, we could do more.
Yeah.
Okay. So
absolutely.
Just spreading the word is just as important as if you can't do anything and share it. We understand. Share. I mean, I do the same thing. Support any way you can, and it helps. It puts eyeballs on screens, which those eyeballs are there anyways.
Same thing with the John Carlos.
I was going to roll right into that. John Carlos needs help. Put yourself in those shoes.
And just by the way, right now we're reading 2 GoFundMes. We're talking about 2 GoFundMes back to back. Yeah. Donate to John Carlos. Donate to that one.
Yeah,
if you wanted to do one thing, donate to John Carlos first. Please help him out. I think he's at almost like 25 grand. It's for 30. We know the guy. It's going to get used to help his family and to get him through this.
Sucks.
He runs his own business.
Sucks.
He runs his own business. He is the main breadwinner, and he cannot work right now. I will tell you that if you donate and you help him out, believe me, he will. He's a really good guy. We talked about The Secret. He will pay that back to the universe in positivity when he beats this.
You'll feel good too, because I mean, that's a person, man. I mean, that could be not even to put it like that could be you, but that could be somebody that you know and you love and you care about, and it's help. If you can, do it, please.
Hey, I'm just remembered, and we didn't shout out Patrick from This Tribal Guy.
Oh my gosh,
because you weren't here, and you had
I was
the new
sick,
one.
Man.
But I'll show if for those of you who don't know, we had. On Instagram at This Tribal Guy.
Right here,
he creates these awesome paddles. You give him your story, you tell him a little bit about yourself, and he will create you something. I asked for something that related to the podcast, so I got this.
He went all red. He went red, white, and blue.
Mike.
I'm Spanish Mike. My name's Miguel.
What's up, Mike?
Yeah, man. He
did an awesome job on that.
He hooked me up, man.
This
thing's bang up. And also, I gave away the necklaces at my
which
gym.
Are like some of these symbols.
Yeah, exactly. And they're, really good quality, man. Not gonna lie.
I have the necklace of the shark.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for my freaking Bronco. Sorry, neighbors downstairs.
Oh my gosh!
I'm waiting for my Bronco. It's not going anywhere but on my rearview mirror. If the Bronco ever comes, which they haven't even started on it yet.
My daughter wears the turtle all the time. My son wears I'm sure there's some symbolism to it. I really don't know what it is, but we call it the Moana hook from.
Oh yeah,
it's the one that's what it is.
That's where it's come from.
Yeah, and My wife has worn the Daisy one, and then I gave the rest of them away to some gym goers who have children.
That's cool.
And I gave them away to the kids. Yeah, and man, I really appreciate it. Really good work. support.
He's awesome, man.
Again, if you can't support financially and you're already on Instagram, just share it, man. Hit that little thing that looks like a paper plane, bro. Pew, mandalo.
All right, guys. I'm at Uncle Milty BJJ. Uncle Milty BJJ on Instagram.
JJD_DJJ69.
Had to make it confusing, didn't you?
On purpose. Wait till I get good at BJJ.
Bo, hit him up. Tell him where to find you.
At Badworks, BADWERKS.
Love it.
Thank you for watching and listening, everyone. We appreciate you.
Peace.
Peace, love, jiu-jitsu, baby.
Love
Look,
jiu-jitsu.
peace, love, jiu-jitsu.
Embrace the suck.